Hello, book lovers. You're back, and it's great to see you today. Welcome to Aria Grace's YouTube channel. My name's Tarian P.S. I'm an author of gay fiction, and I'm here to read to you a book by the talented Aria herself. I do hope you enjoy this reading. If you'd like to later listen to the unabridged professional audiobook version, you can find them on audiobooksbyaria.com. I'll leave the links below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more free readings from YouTube. And feel free to leave a comment below. Tell us what you think or to request your favorite Aria Grace MM romance for future readings. Now, with further ado, let's get cozy and get reading. Today is book 3 from the More Than Friends series titled Choosing Happy by Aria Grace and read by Tarian P.S. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved. Chapter 1. Sugar, butter, flour. Oh my, I feel like a munchkin doing the same thing day in and day out. I love my little corner on Southwest 3rd in Washington, but the solitary lifestyle is starting to get to me. Not having anyone else to think about gives me too much time to think about myself and all the mistakes I've made, all the people I've hurt, and all that I'll never have again. Toppings? I asked for the 200th time since I unlocked the door this morning. What do you have? The teen bopper at my window has pink headphones hanging half off her head, a phone in one hand and a Starbucks cup in the other. I don't know how she's going to carry a waffle plate too, but that's her problem, not mine. I've got enough on my own to not take on others. Sign on the left has everything. I nod toward the very prominent sign with big black and white letters that clearly lists all the toppings I offer. Whipped cream and powdered sugar are the most popular. Do you have anything healthy? She's at a waffle stand and she's looking for something healthy. Bananas, raspberries, strawberries, applesauce. The line is getting longer and I can see the dirty glances shooting her way. I'll have whipped cream and chocolate sprinkles. Of course she will. Sure thing. It'll be a few minutes. I take her money, then turn to the irons to pull on two almost burnt cakes. They've been beeping since she started digging through her oversized, overpriced bag for her wallet. Another day, another dollar, another nameless hookup or night of bad reality TV. There's no place like home. It's just after 6 and I'm ready to close up, but I haven't seen Little Duck yet, so I organized my shelves one more time and wait for my daily dose of heaven. Little Duck isn't actually his name, of course, but since I've only spoken to him once, I don't know what his name is. And like clockwork, there he is in black cashmere sweater and black skinny slacks. His shoulder-length hair is so blonde it's almost white and fine enough that I can imagine it tickling me, brushed against my skin. He would be a perfect vision if it wasn't for the uptight dude he's always walking just a stride ahead. They pass by every night at exactly 6:10. Never earlier, never late. Always the same. If I had to guess, the dude is some type A businessman who is so regimented his boy spends a lot of time waiting around for him. The only time my little duck has ever come to my window was about a month ago. It was 3 in the afternoon on a Saturday, and he was alone, wearing an Oregon Ducks t-shirt. I've never seen him in casual clothes before or since, and his carefree smile made an impression. He's maybe 23, 24, only a few years younger than me, but I feel like an old man when I look at his porcelain skin and angelic blue eyes. I've spent more than a few nights picturing those eyes staring up at me, but that'll never happen. He's very, very obviously taken, and the only signs I've seen that he wants for anything is that deep whiff he takes of a sugar-laced air every time he passes my window. I don't know why they don't stop more often if the kid wants a waffle, but it's not my business. So like a ship in the night, my little duck passes by, inhaling deeply as he goes. My ego tries to convince me he's added a glance my way, but I know I'm projecting. I want him to look at me and see beyond my tattoos and practically shaved head, to see beyond the scars and the flaws, both physical and emotional. The remnants of my time on the streets when I would pick a fight if someone looked at me sideways. Took me a while to figure out it wasn't worth it. These days, I mind my business, literally and figuratively. Don't get involved in other people's problems. Last time I tried to help out a friend, it almost destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. Zach, my best My ex turned good friend wanted to do something special for his boyfriend. He mentioned a video of a group scene that his boyfriend liked and coerced them into a three-way that neither of them were ready for. I'm not sure Zach will ever forgive me, even though they managed to move past it. So I wait to see Little Duck every day. And now that I have, I can lock up. Rachel is opening in the morning, so I send a text to my buddy and tattoo artist, Alan, to see about getting together. You going to Ray's tonight? Nah, Phil doesn't like to go out. I get it. Still good for Saturday? Yeah. I'll I'll be by at 3:30. Alan was supposed to do a cover-up job for me. He's one of the best body artists I've met, and the only one I let stick me these days. Used to be a time I'd look for the cheapest guy I could find. Now I want to know that whatever I'm permanently adding to my body is something I'll want to look at for the next 50 years. The Waffle House logo that'll hide the dagger I got when I was 15 will likely be my last tat for a while. I'm tired of the judgment. I've got plans to expand my business beyond a street cart, and having a partner with respectable businessmen to be taken seriously is starting to wear thin. Not to mention, I pretty well burned the last bridge I had to a respectable businessman last spring, so that's not going to work anyways. Chapter 2. My standard 90-minute workout turns to almost 3 hours without my knowledge. I have a routine of 20 minutes on the treadmill, an hour of free weights, and 10 minutes of abs that I do every morning. So how I ended up back on the treadmill is a little disconcerting. Even worse, I'm staring out the gym windows towards Broadway and looking for a little duck. I've never seen him here, so there's no logical reason for me to search for him on the streets, but his eyes haunt me, call to me, search for me. I see him in my dreams and am starting to obsess about them. Each time he steps away from the dude in the suit and walks to my window for a cinnamon sugar. Sweet and spicy, it's how I imagine he tastes. I spend the rest of the day trying to keep my mind out of the gutter and off the kid that is clearly not available. It doesn't work. So at 5:45, I break my cardinal rule of minding my own business and try to lure him in. I grab a small whiteboard that I keep on hand for specials and scribble a message that I hope will bring a smile to his face. Free samples, cinnamon sugar. I write it small enough to not cause a mob because I need my window to be free at 6:10. Like the jerk that I am, I start making cinnamon sugars and wait for my ducky to arrive. And like clockwork, he passes by in a delayed lockstep with the dude. But this time, I'm leaning with my head in the window and a hot plate of samples in my hand. Free samples, sir. I'm looking directly at my little duck. He almost jumps back when he realizes I'm talking to him with my outstretched hand. Would you like to try cinnamon sugar? His crystal eyes twinkle as a smile lights up his face. He takes a step toward me to grab one of the plastic forks I've already inserted in a square. I can't take my eyes off his, and I know he feels my stare penetrating him. He's watching me until he's yanked violently back. His yelp breaks me from my trance, and I'm halfway out the window when the guy barks out, "No!" My little duck is wincing from the death grip around his forearm, but he quickly falls back in line, just behind the jerk, with his eyes cast down and humiliation oozing from his very being. I want to beat the crap out of that man digging into his delicate flesh, but it's not my business. Little Duck is an adult, and if this is his kink, who am I to judge? I'm no savior. I'm fairly positive I just made things worse for another innocent bystander of my messed up life. We're not in Kansas anymore. Not willing to spend another night alone in the house both my parents died in, I slip on my helmet and hop on my R1 for a ride. As usual, I end up at Ray's, a bar that's always good for a few drinks and a blowjob. Tonight, I'm not even in the mood for a drink. I walk in and head straight to Caleb. He's there every night. I've only picked him up a few times, but he's a good kid that's working his way through community college in a relatively safe way. Ray lets him use a room upstairs to meet tricks 3 nights a week. If he works as a server, the other 4. It's not a bad gig if you can get it. He's got his head buried in some kind of math book when I nudged his shoulder with my hip. Buy you a drink? Steve. He drops the book and stands to give me a hug. Haven't seen you around in a while. Haven't been around in a while. I give him a quick peck on the cheek. But it's nice that you noticed. Of course I noticed. He tucks his textbook in his bag on the floor and turns fully towards me. So how's the life of a big waffle king? Smarty pants. He's actually brilliant, but his parents couldn't handle looking at his feminine features after they caught him kissing an older guy in the neighborhood. They did the only thing they felt was reasonable. They cashed in his college fund and handed him a check for 12 grand when he turned 18. He's been on his own since. He's studying business and knows people in important places. I could have never set up my LLC when I opened Waffle House without his help. I'd be lucky to work for the kid someday. The empire is at peace for the moment, I replied, realizing for the first time that his crystal blue eyes and silky blonde hair are inappropriately familiar. I came here to get that kid out of my head, and now I'm about to use Caleb as his replacement. He's looked for me over from top to bottom. You growing out your hair? Self-consciously, I scrubbed my hand from my forehead to the nape of my neck and back. It's just barely long enough to be called a buzz cut, but I was tired of shaving it, and most respectable businessmen don't shave their heads if they have a dragon tattoo on their scalp. Yeah, decided to try something new. So what brings you back to our fine establishment? He's drinking Coke tonight, so when Vinny walks by to take my order, I just gestured to Caleb's glass without looking up. Came by to see you. You got time tonight? I supplely nod my head to the back. It's not necessary since he knows what I want. Everyone knows what a guy wants when they sit down next to Caleb, but that's okay. Everyone at the bar has been with him, some more often than others. He glances at his watch. Yeah, I'm good for about 40 minutes. He gives me a crooked smile that makes me twitch just a bit. That's enough time? Sadly, that's way more than enough. I'm so pent up, I'll probably be done as soon as he reaches for my zipper. Works for me. He leaves his book bag on the table, and we do the walk of shame upstairs. Even though everyone does it and no one really has a problem with him or what he does to get by, I still feel every set of eyes on me as we disappear up the dark staircase reserved for employees only. Okay, big guy. Caleb walks me to the leather sofa and shoves me to sit before straddling my lap. What do you have in mind? I close my eyes and throw my head back against the high cushions. I need your mouth. He leans forward and places a soft kiss on the edge of my mouth while rubbing his hands over my chest. I can make that happen. His hands are splayed over my pecs, and he's kneading the firm muscles brushing against the metal of my nipple rings as he does it. I've been feeling a little backed up lately. I hadn't been able to get myself relaxed the way I usually can. This is the first time in 3 days I've even been interested enough to try. When Caleb slips his slender fingers down the front of my jeans, I slouch down farther to create some space for him to reach in. My hands go to his narrow hips and feel his tight core muscles move with every breath he takes. He kisses across my stubble jaw and pulls up my shirt, dragging his fingertips down my side and making me shiver. I'm trying not to picture anyone else while he unzips my jeans. You got a Prince Albert? He has me in his hand and is inspecting it like he's never seen one before. Looks great. Thanks. I don't want him to talk. I want him to focus on doing his job and making me forget about the boy who belongs to someone else. I forgot to bring protection. I got you covered, babe. He laughs at the corny joke. He probably makes 5 times a night as he reaches into his jacket and selected the right size. The only reason why I am willing to pay Caleb is that he's always safe. Always. He gingerly fits it over the jewelry, then is immediately taking me. After some expert ministrations, I quickly start to get into it. As Caleb works his magic with his hands, I'm closer to the point that eluded me for days. My mind keeps going to those ivory fingers reaching out to me earlier, and my hand lands on Caleb's head. With just one pass of my meaty palm against his downy soft hair, I'm right inside a fantasy of a moment I know I'll never have in real life. Geez, Steve. Caleb coughs a few times as he pulls back. A little warning next time. I don't have dental insurance, and you almost cracked a tooth with that thing. Oh, man, I'm sorry. That one kind of snuck up on me. I lean forward so I can peek into his mouth as if I'll be able to assess any damage. Are you okay? He laughs as he stretches out his jaw. I'm fine, but you might have to take that out next time. It's super hot, but you're too wide and to have extra stuff in there. I ruffled his hair. getting excited again with that simple action. Thank you. I pull him forward and give him a kiss on the forehead. Anytime, he motions to my lap. You done? Or you want to go again? I got what I need. I stand up, carefully keeping the mess contained. You have some time back. You want to talk or anything? He's leaning against the door, watching as I tuck myself into my jeans and reach for a mullet. Looks like he's got something on your mind. I'm fine, kiddo. I pull out some cash and hand it to him as I reach for the door. Go study while you can. Chapter 3. Rachel has a few hours to kill after I got there, so she hangs around to do inventory. She's a single mom and likes to pick up extra hours on the days her ex-husband has their daughter. She's chatty, so I can only work with her a few hours per week. She's too cheery for my current state of mind, and by state of mind, I mean my constant state of sexual frustration. I try to arrive when I know she has to leave, but today her incessant chatter is a nice distraction. It rained most of the day, so business has been slow since lunch crowd cleared out. If I wasn't waiting for 6:10 to roll around, I'd have closed by 4. You need to be somewhere? She asks, not sure what she means. I just stare and wait for her to explain. You keep checking your watch. You got something important to do tonight? A big date? She smiles, but I know she hopes she's right. I've been in a crabby mood for a month, and my almost encounter with Little Duck has put me in a weird headspace. I'm anxious and I don't like it. Not really. I glance at my watch again. 6 o'clock on the dot. 10 more minutes. Just tired. Want to get out of here. I'll lock up, Steve. She steps into the window and starts to pull the shutters down. No! I didn't mean to shout, but her shocked expression and the step she takes away from me is a reminder of the temper I need to keep at bay. Sorry, Rach. I didn't mean to startle you. I'm just waiting for a friend that said he might stop by. I'm fine for a few more minutes. You can head out whenever you want. I smile and watch her tense shoulders relax. Okay, I'm almost done here anyway. She goes back to the laptop and enters the rest of her count. At 6:10, I'm perched in the window as if my favorite movie is about to start. In some ways, it is the short film of my little duck and his jerk on their evening stroll to Utopia, or what I would imagine the world to be like with a guy like that. For the first time ever, the dude is staring hard when he approaches my window. I force my hands to flatten on the counter from the fists they naturally curl into when I see him. He's daring me to say something, but I know the game. I'm not going to break first. They stop, but my ducky doesn't look up. He's staring at the ground a few feet in front of him. When I look back at the guy, he's got an evil snarl on his face. Tell him. He smacks the kid in the arm hard enough that he stumbles but quickly recovers. Without meeting my eyes, he looks towards me and says, "We're not interested." The black eye he's sporting is enough to make me see red. If the window was bigger, I'd have dived through it and beat the guy, but my shoulders are blocked when I get right in his face and say, "I see a mark on him again, and I'll be paying you a visit." The kid looks at me in shock, terrified by my action and my words. I want to drag him away and keep him safe, but I can't. I don't even know his name. You let me know if he lays a hand on you again, I said directly to my little duck as the guy drags him away. Crap. I'll probably never see the kid again because I couldn't follow my own rules. What was that about? Rachel has her phone in her hand and ready to dial 911 when I finally get my heart calm enough to turn around and look at her. Fine, just someone I know. I look at her pile of papers. I'm gonna let you close up after all. I've got to be somewhere. I don't mean to do it, and I know it's a mistake, a huge mistake, but I find myself taking brisk strides down the long road the two men always take. I don't know if they've turned or entered a building, but I keep walking straight ahead. I would have missed them completely if I didn't hear the squeak of his voice as my sweet ducky was yanked into the elevator of a building with an arcade on the ground floor and several floors of apartments above it. Not even thinking about the assault charges I'm walking towards, I yank open the glass door and head toward the elevator. A behemoth of a security guard steps in front of me as I'm watching the numbers change on the display above the doors. "Can I help you, sir?" I'm a big guy at 6'3" and 230, but this guy makes me feel like a lightweight. The lights stop on 8. They're going to the 8th floor, the penthouse. Good to know. I'm just here to visit a friend. I reach up for the arrow behind him. "I'm sorry, sir, but all guests have to be announced." "Who are you here to see?" He pulls up a tablet and waits for me to respond. The jerk on eight. Actually, I can't remember his name. We just met, but he left his phone in my office. I'll just run it up to the 8th floor. Pushing a few buttons on his tablet, the guard holds out his hand. I'll see that it gets to its owner. Thanks, but I'll be seeing him tomorrow, so I'll just wait. I turn tail and walk out. That kid better not have another bruise when I see him next. Chapter 4. I'm quick to study and a firm believer that the best defense is a good offense. So at 6 o'clock, I shut off the lights, lock the door, and step out to the street in front of my shop. If I still smoked, I'd have gone through a pack, but since I don't have anything to occupy my hands, I just stretch my fingers, not letting them ball into fists the way they want to. At 6:10, I lean against the wall and wait. Any second now. Any second, and the dude can say whatever he has to say without a glass barrier between us. At 6:20, I realize they aren't coming. They've probably taken a different route just to avoid the crazy waffle maker. At 6:30, I slip on my helmet and ride to my empty house. The silence is deafening as I lock the front door behind me. It's more depressing than it seemed the day before. Thinking back on the last time I laughed in that place, I realized it was 4 months ago when Zach and Ryan were here, the night I almost destroyed their relationship. It's Friday night and I'm opening up early the next morning, so I don't bother turning on the TV or attempting to get off. I just lay in bed and stare at the same ceiling my parents both stared at when they took their dying breaths. My mom died of cancer when I was 12. I hated watching her go, but Dad insisted we be the ones to take care of her. My dad had a stroke a few years ago and spent his last month lying in that room with the son he never liked and a hospice nurse to help the time pass. Is that what I'm doing? Just passing time until my body or my mind finally gives up? I hit the snooze button for the first time since high school. Always an early riser. I never slept past 6. So when I crack an eyelid and see it's 7:15, I groan. After a quick shower to wake up, I step into a pair of old jeans and grab the first t-shirt my fingers touch, then run down the steps. The bike needs gas, so I get in my truck instead and drive the 6 miles to work. Having become more of a slave to technology than I'd like to admit, I'm walking and texting Alan when I hear a tiny voice. Hi. Startled, I look up and see my little duck huddled in the shadows behind my cart. He's curled in a tiny ball against the generator and looks like hell. Hey, kid. I kneel down in front of him. What are you doing here? Tears flood his eyes as he looks away. I didn't know where else to go. In the dim light, I couldn't see his battered face, but when I brush his hair aside and see a line of caked blood that crosses from the middle of his scalp to his cheekbone, I want to kill someone. Did that jerk do this to you? He wouldn't look at me. By the way he flinched, I know he was scared. I take a deep breath and lean back on my haunches. We should go to the police. I'll take you. No. He jumps up and backs away, ready to bolt. I'm sorry I came here. I'm fine. The way he's limped me off even more, but I force a steady voice. Okay, no cop. I slowly reach forward and hold my hand out to him, praying he'll take it. With a tentative step, walks to me and lets me guide him into the trailer that serves as my shop. After a few awkward minutes of us just watching each other, I can't stay silent. He own you? I asked, not liking the implication, but knowing I'm on shaky ground if I try to save this kid from a dom that isn't ready to give him up. Not anymore. He curled into a ball on the only stool in the place. I left him last night. You were out there all night? He shrugs. The kid is worse off than I thought. What happened? He looks up at me for a second, just taking me in, and stands quickly. I should go. I'm sorry to bother you. He reaches for the door, but I put a hand on his shoulder. The way he bucks away from me makes my blood boil. I immediately lift my hand, and he slumps forward, breathing quickly and trying to catch his breath. Lifting the back of his shirt, I'm not prepared to see the mangled skin and oozing scabs that crisscross his once beautiful skin. I growl, unable to tame the beast. I'll kill him. No! He chokes out a sob. Over, I just want to forget about Toffer. Toffer, a super pretentious name. Toffer the jerk. I'm torn. I want to hunt down this Toffer dude and give him a taste of my own punishment methods, but I can't leave the kid. If I turn my back, I might never see him again. Let's get you a hospital. You need stitches. I'll be fine in a few days. A little bit of peroxide, and I'll be good as new. This isn't the first time. The dude better move far, far away if he wants to keep his limbs attached to his body. Let me at least take you to my place so you can rest. It's five to eight, and I'm supposed to be opening up. I glance at the shuttered window and contemplate my options. You hungry? He looks up at me with the most non-pained expression I've seen, and I can't help the small smile that lights my face. Cinnamon sugar, right? I ask. He nods, then quickly turns away. Actually, no, thanks. I'm fine. My hands want to pull him to my chest and hold him, protecting him from any bad that might even think of coming to him. But I keep my distance, giving him space to get comfortable with me. You're not fine, and you're going to eat while we wait for someone to cover for me. His face turned red enough to camouflage the bruises. I don't have any money, he whispers, barely loud enough for me to hear. That jerk put him out on the street, beat up and penniless. We'll definitely be having words very soon. I kneel down and wait for him to meet my gaze. Your money isn't good here anyway. This is on me. Okay. His tiny voice is full of shame. Again, I want to reach out to him, but I don't want to scare him away. I have to be careful with this one, and careful isn't something I'm very good at. Okay. I stood and start mixing the batter while I call Rachel. She answers on the second ring, but she sounds sleepy. Fortunately, she doesn't have her daughter, but she has to cancel her hair appointment. I promised to pay for her highlights if she'll work the whole day. As usual, she's willing to help when I need her. The kid is still trying to merge with the back wall while I open up the front window and get started for the morning. There's already a line outside, so I hand him a hot sugar-coated plate of happy and tend to the waiting customers. Rachel takes longer than expected, but by the time she arrives at 8:50, Little Duck looks 100 times better. The tears have dried and his color evened out. He doesn't look like he's on the verge of passing out anymore. So what's the emergency, boss? Rachel flings open the door with her usual enthusiasm. Sounded urgent. She turns to toss her purse under the counter and notices her guest. Oh my God. Steps back and holds her hand to her chest. Scared the crap out of me. She looks at him closely, then turns to me, shielding him from my view. Everything okay? Her maternal instincts kick in and her voice has an edge to it. I know she's wondering if I'm the reason for his bruised face and terrified eyes. It will be. I finished up with the order I'm taking and untied the apron around her face. I need to get him cleaned up. You still good for tomorrow, too? She's wary but nods. Turning back, she kneels down in front of the terrified boy. Hey there, she says in her soothing mom voice and extends her hands. I'm Rachel. I'm Joey, he says quickly. I almost missed it. Joey. Huh, I like that. Do you need us to call anyone for you, Joey? She doesn't look back at me, but I still turn away, giving them the illusion of privacy. Hopefully she can get more out of him than I did. No, ma'am, he clears his throat. I'm feeling better, and will be on my way now. The heck he will. I turn and take the 2 steps toward him. Come on, little duck. We'll get you cleaned up and rested at my place. He looks confused, but accepts my hand and lets me tug him to a standing position. Looking directly at Rachel, I smile. Thanks, Rachel. Really. She nods and goes to wash her hands so she can deal with the line that's forming again. She has a long day ahead of her, and she's not the only one. Chapter 5. Grateful I brought the truck, I helped Joey climb in the passenger seat, then wait for him to put on his seatbelt before shutting the door. He's leaning forward to keep his weight off his back. We don't say anything on the short ride to my house, but when I stop in the driveway and open the door for him to get out, he doesn't move. Are you sure it's okay? He asked, staring at the Tudor house I grew up in. Of course. I held out my hand and patiently waited for him to take it. I live alone and have plenty of room. Joey tilts his head and looks into my eyes. They trail down my decorated arms to my waiting hand. You're alone? Does he seriously have sympathy for me? That's a new low, even for me. Yeah. I carefully reached out to take his hand, and I promised not to bite. Moving slowly, he scoots out and walks behind me to the front door, just like the little duck he was trained to be. I open the door and sweep my arm in for Joey to look around. There's a guest room down here with a private bath. I start walking, but he doesn't follow. When I reach the door to the bedroom that hasn't been used since Zach's last visit, I clear my throat, getting Joey's attention. In here, little duck. You can clean up, and I'll find some clothes for you while we wash yours. Nothing I own will fit his slender form, but I've got a handful of clothes that guys have left here over the years that I keep in case they ever come back. Fortunately or unfortunately, they rarely return after I've driven them away. Joey reluctantly walks to me and peeks in the room. You really don't mind? I shake my head, my eyes locked in his profile as he decides whether he can trust me or not. To my surprise, he steps in and sits on the edge of the bed. I grab a few towels from the hall closet and walked into the bathroom. You need to soak those gashes to make sure they don't get infected. Want me to run a bath for you? His terrified eyes bug open. I know he thinks I'm trying to take advantage of him. Look, kid. I pull out the desk chair and roll it so I'm sitting in front of him with about a foot between our knees. I know you're scared, and you should be. You shouldn't just trust a stranger off the street. Okay, this isn't exactly making his breathing even out or his color improve. He looks like he's about to burst into tears or jump through a window, maybe both. I take a deep breath and start over. My name is Steve Montgomery. You already know that I own the Waffle House. Rachel knows you're with me, and she'd kick my butt if I harmed one hair on your head, so you can relax. Promise I won't hurt you. I've said those words so many times in the past and haven't been able to keep the promise yet, but this time I'm going to do everything I can to keep this kid safe. Please let me help you. He exhales loudly and his whole body relaxes as he nods his head once. Okay, I'll turn on the tap and let you get undressed. Just be sure to turn off the faucet before it overflows. I wink as I get up and walk back to the bathroom. After I leave, put your clothes on the bed. I'll toss them in the washer, all right? He nods again, and just as I walk out the door, I hear his soft voice. Steve? My heart stutters as the sound of my name from his lips penetrates my soul. He's absolutely angelic. I turn back to him. Why do you keep calling me little duck? Did I say that out loud? I don't even remember doing it. Does it bother you? No, I guess not. He's still confused, but doesn't seem upset. Good. I gave him a grin that comes easier than I remember. Don't wait too long, or the tub will overflow. I walk out of the bedroom and gently shut the door behind me. A few minutes after I hear the water turn off, I crack open the door and peek my head in. I have some clothes. Is it okay for me to bring them in? Yeah. He sounds a little panicky. I'm still in the tub. I walk in and place the smallest shirt I could find in a pair of basketball shorts on the bed. Without getting too close, I step into view of the open bathroom door. Joey's leaning back with his head on the rim of the clawfoot tub. With his eyes closed, he seems so peaceful, content. I can imagine waking up next to that sight every morning. I clear my throat. Hey, little duck, you all right in there? Joey nearly jumps out of his skin, then pulls his knees to his chin. I'm fine. I stay where I am, even though the pull to go to him is almost painful. I want to see the full extent of his injuries and let him know he really is safe with me. But is he? I've hurt everyone else I've ever cared for. Why do I think this is going to be different? Probably because I want so much more than I'm willing to admit. These will be big, but it's just a few hours while I get your clothes cleaned up. He peeks up through his dampened strands. Thanks, but you didn't have to. I know. I take a step forward, but when he flinches slightly, I step back. I want to. Is there anything else you need? He shakes his head. You've already done so much. I sit on the bed as far away as I can be while still in view. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I'd really feel better if I could take a look at your back and a better look at everything else. But I pushed that thought aside. It doesn't matter right now, might not ever matter. Making him feel safe and healthy really is my priority. Has that ever been my priority in the past? I can't think of a time that it was. Okay. He says what he knows I want to hear, but his defeated expression yanks at my heart. I don't want him to regret coming to me for help. How about you get dried off and put on the shorts? I'll wait out in the living room. Just find me when you're ready. He nods, relaxing his grip on his legs and letting his shoulders slouch back. It's after 11 when Joey shuffles out with a towel dropped over his shoulders and the shorts hanging low from his narrow hip. His cheeks are flushed from the hot bath and probably a small dose of embarrassment, but he walks with his head up and eyes forward. He stops when he's less than a foot from where I'm sitting on the sofa with a magazine. When he doesn't move or say anything else, I stand and toss the issue of Men's Health on the table. His sudden intake of breath is the only indication that he's still nervous around me. I ignore it and bend slightly to meet his eye line. Can you take off the towel? His confidence wavers as his eyes cast downward, and he gingerly lifts the heavy terry cloth from his shoulders. My own breath hitches as I take in what this kid, very likely as a result of my stunt the other night, has suffered through. Without realizing it, my hand reaches toward the long patch of bluish purple covering his left side. As my fingers graze the surface of his skin, Joey flinches, then curls around himself. I pull my arm back and shove my fists in my pockets, willing them to stay put. Is your skin just tender, or do you think you've got a cracked rib? He takes a deep breath, and I don't hear any wheezing or notice the obvious pain that would come from a serious rib injury, probably just bruising. Joey rubs his hands down both sides of his rib cage to assess the damage. Just watching the movement makes me excited. Pretending to lean forward for a closer look, I adjust myself so my growing interest is less obvious. I think it's just on the skin. I don't feel any sharp pain. I nod and take a step back, letting my gaze wander to the body beneath the bruises. His compact muscles remind me of a marathon runner. Zero body fat, just taut skin over small muscles. I want to run my tongue across and in every groove. Probably feeling my hungry stare, Joey reaches for the towel and brings me out of my trance. Not so fast, Ducky. I hold my hand up and twist my wrists so he knows I haven't forgotten about his back. He clutches the fluffy white towel to his chest and buries his face in it as he slowly turns, revealing stripped welts that cover him from the nape of his neck to the edge of his shorts. I'm almost afraid to see what's beyond the waistband. He did this to you? The sores are clean and not all have broken skin, but those that are scabbed have already started to turn pink around the edges. We need to get some antibiotics on the cuts and some ice on everything else. I'm sorry. What? Did I hear him correctly? What do you have to be sorry about? When he doesn't turn around, I gently reach out to his right bicep and tap a patch of smooth alabaster skin. Joey, why are you sorry? He lifts his head just enough to whisper, I'm sorry for being such a burden. I know you have better things to do than play nurse with me. There's nothing I'd rather be doing. Trying to speak lightly, but I'm sure he hears the rasp in my voice. Willing myself to not think about playing any kind of doctor games with him, I started again. What I mean is, I feel somewhat responsible for this after what I did the other night. I reach for a tube of Neosporin and motion for him to sit on the edge of the table. It wasn't anything you did, he offers in a small voice. I've been thinking of leaving for a while. I load up my finger with cream. This might sting, but I'll try to be quick. My brave little duck just nods and looks out the front window. While he's distracted, I take the opportunity to dig for answers. So how long were you with that guy? I'm sure he's not going to answer when he finally says 6 months. He helped me out when I was in a jam and, well, things went from there. That sounds familiar. Would he think I'm doing the same thing? I guess I am. I'm surprised he let you leave, Joey hisses as I smooth a thick layer of ointment over a wide gash down his lower back. Ah, this goes lower. Is it okay if I pull back your shorts? He nods, but doesn't say anything. In the most detached manner possible, I carefully slip my finger under the loose waistband. I can see the goosebumps from across the skin as I peel back the fabric of his shorts. My eyes follow the angry red mark that starts in one corner of his back and goes across his crack and wraps around his hip. This isn't going to work. Duck? Joey? I speak softly to make him feel comfortable, even though my nerves are completely shot from trying to maintain control when I don't feel any. I know you don't want to, but I need you to take those shorts off. He freezes, holding his breath and clutching the towel tighter to his chest like a security blanket. All the way off? All the way off. You can cover your front if you promise there aren't any open wounds down there. You're going to have some nasty scars and a lot more pain than necessary if we don't get these medicated. He stands with his back straight, then drops his shorts. They're around his ankle before I can fully process what he's doing. Standing with the towel shielding the front of his body from the open window and my curious eyes, he slowly exhales. How can you even sit? Without my permission, my fingers softly trail the only lines of unharmed flesh from his back to the top of his thighs. When I hear Joey and take a sharp breath, I pull back, cursing myself for betraying his trust. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. He nods once, continuing to stare outside. How bad is it? It's pretty bad. Has he done this before? I quickly cover his cuts and then pull his shorts up so he isn't exposed. A few times. Why'd you stay? I sit on the coffee table in front of him as he curls into a corner on the love seat. I'm close enough to reach out to him, but there is still enough space between us that I'm not towering over him. Joey shrugs. He keeps a few of us around at all times. I was the one he took to work. He also has a few that stay home. It was okay most of the time. What did that mean? Okay, I guess I'm not following. Were you part of a harem or something? His cheeks flush and his chin falls to his chest. I don't want to talk about it. The bell on my dryer dings and he looks up, begging me to drop the subject. Seems you're a lucky duck, too. Now you get warm clothes that actually fit. I smiled and walked to the laundry room to grab his clothes. He'll open up eventually. Until then, I need to tread lightly. When I walk back to the couch, he's in the same position I left him in. I hold up the green Oregon Ducks shirt I saw him in just a few weeks earlier. Get dressed, little duck, and I'll make some lunch. He actually smiles as he makes the connection between his nickname and the shirt. I leave the rest of his clothes folded on the coffee table, then go to the kitchen to see what I can put together. I'm not used to cooking for guests. After a simple lunch of grilled cheese and canned soup, Joey looks like he's going to pass out, so I suggest he took a nap. While I go to my basement gym for a quick workout. Once I'm alone, I hit the speed bag like I'm some kind of crackhead. The rhythmic pounding is the only thing that calms me when I'm pissed off and helpless. That's how I feel with Joey, completely helpless to take away his pain. I can give him a place to stay and fill his belly, but until he opens up with what happened with Toffer, I can't do much else. I can't be just another temporary savior to this kid. He deserves more than that. So I hit the bag over and over, watching it bounce and subconsciously counting rebounds to vary my workout without having to stop or catch my breath. I can't stop until I know I'm too tired to do something stupid. I felt so tightly wounded earlier. I was very close to doing something completely out of line, like kissing Joey's welts to take the sting away, or licking the baby fine hairs behind his ear, or nuzzling into the pristine skin of his thighs. Refocusing on the bag to relax, I count out loud. By the time my arms are shaking, I can't hold them up anymore, and finally feeling ready to face my guest again, I trudge up the stairs and through the living room, surprised to find it occupied. Oh, I thought you left. Joey quickly hits the remote to turn off the TV. It is too fast for me to catch what he's been watching, but I'm definitely curious. Just working out in the basement. I walk toward him and I hold my hand out for the remote. You can watch whatever you want. I'm going to take a shower. I press the power button and see Jax from Sons of Anarchy with his bare butt in the air. I smile and glance at Joey. He's pink and looking away as if I caught him with porn. I guess Charlie is like porn if the mood is right. I'll be back in a few. Chapter 6. The hot water pelting my exhausted muscles feels good, but I still can't fully relax. The rage that I'm holding inside isn't good. It's been a long time since I've felt this all-encompassing anger that won't subside, and Joey's story hits a little close to home. I was 14 when I first started rebelling. I thought I might be gay, but I didn't want to be. I started hitting my old man's bourbon stash after he went to bed, and my grades quickly started to drop. It was a very fast spiral from middle-class kid in the burbs to punk teen on the streets, getting tattoos and hanging out in a boxing gym to prove how manly I was. I barely remembered the transformation, but by the time I was 16, I was an honorary member of the Brothers Speed Motorcycle Club. They taught me how to ride, how to fight, and how to do everything else. It was the most liberating time of my life. I wanted so deeply to be a part of something bigger than myself that I didn't care what it was. Didn't matter that I'd get passed around now and then when the guys were drunk, or that I was basically their lackey for the entire time I was with them. I still loved every minute of the 3 years I spent as part of the Brotherhood. Ricky, one of the guys who really took me under his wing, is the only reason I graduated from high school. He was my first crush and more of a father to me than my own dad was during those painful years of fighting my sexuality and discovering how to be honest with myself. I might still be with him if he didn't lose control in the Sierra on a weekend ride down south. He went over a cliff and died on impact. I was at my grandmother's funeral and Ricky took his last breath. I've always wondered if he was thinking of me at the end. I'll never know. But I do know how much it hurt to feel like I'd been abandoned by him. None of the other brothers cared about me the way Ricky did. I was just a dumb kid that looked up to them as if gold shot out their butts. Once Ricky was gone, there was nothing left for me. It was clear they only tolerated me for his sake. Within a month of his death, I stopped hanging out at Chopper's, the bar they owned. After selling the old Harley I'd been working on with Ricky, I moved to California. I needed space, and that seemed like a good place to find it. Space and some real sunshine. I don't ever want Joey to feel abandoned by me. I'm going to make sure he knows he's not alone through this. He doesn't have to keep running. I want him to stay. And with that thought, my pervy mind goes back to his milky white skin. It's been a while since I've been this excited in the shower, and I'm not going to waste the opportunity. Plus, I need to deal with it now so I don't accidentally embarrass myself when I'm too close to the kid. Lathering up a hand towel with soap, I quickly scrub down the sweat from my body. As the water just starts its decline from hot to tepid, I drop the towel and lather up my hands. Not wanting to waste time in there, I move things along quickly, picturing his baby fine hair and those sparkling blue eyes of his. I hope he heals quickly and decides to stick around because I seriously want to try that for real sometime. As I'm slowly coming back to reality, the doorbell rings. I have a chuckle when I realize I started at my own doorbell like a puppy. Not 2 seconds later, there's a pounding at my bedroom door. Steve? Joe's calling out to me as I turn off the water and step out of the shower. I'm reaching for a towel when I hear a gasp and see a flash of green past me. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Oops, I quickly dry off and reach for a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. The doorbell rings again, so I pad to the front door in bare feet and swing it open. Alan, man, I totally forgot you were coming by today. Come in. I step away while Alan comes in with his portable ink kit. Go ahead and sit up. I'll be back in a few minutes. I leave Alan and go straight to the guest room, knocking softly when I reach the closed door. It takes three increasingly louder knocks before I hear a faint acknowledgement. Opening the door just a few inches, I ask, Can I come in? Of course. Of course. Well, he doesn't have to let me in, but I'm glad for his permission. He's sitting at the foot of the bed with his arms resting on his knees. I wait for him to make eye contact, but he doesn't. You okay? I'm standing right in front of him, so his head is on at his chest height if he looks up, but he seems to be studying my feet, or maybe the rug under my feet. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have walked in. He quickly glances up at me, but thinks better of it and looks away. I'll leave if you want me to. I kneel down so I'm in his line of sight. I can't stand to hear him say he wants to leave already. Hey, I rubbed the clear side of his cheek with a thumb to get him to meet my gaze. I'm not mad. I'm not even embarrassed. I'm sorry if you felt uncomfortable, but it's not a big deal. He looks into my eyes, and the hope that was there earlier is back along with a different kind of fear. What could he be afraid of at this point? Really? He holds my stare and seems to relax a bit. Really? And I don't want you to leave. This earns an actual smile that I want to take a picture of because it's so sweet and innocent. My buddy came over to do a small tattoo. You want to watch? Joey scans the visible tattoo snaking down my arms. Another one? It's a cover-up. Not too big. I stand and take a step back, reaching my hand out to the beautiful boy. Maybe we'll get you one, too. His eyes are as big as saucers, and he shakes his head and pulls back. I can't help a small laugh. I'm just kidding, little duck. You're too pretty to mess up with some ugly ink. Did I say that out loud? When I steal a glance at him and see the crimson hue and he's bathed in, I only feel partially guilty. Blushing is better than bolting. Joey follows behind me as I walk into the dining room looking for Alan. He's commandeered one side of the table and is sketching out a design. His equipment is already plugged in and ink bottles are everywhere. I did tell him it was a small cover, didn't I? Grabbing a chair, I turn it around and straddle it backwards. Alan gives me a grin and looks over to Joey. Hey, I know you. I've seen you over at Paddles, right? He stands up to shake Joey's hand. I'm Alan. I'm Joey, he says quietly, only briefly making eye contact, then looking away. Paddles. I know the name, but it takes me a second to figure out what he means. I look over to Joey. That arcade on Madison? The building you walked into the other night. He nods but doesn't look at me. He's watching Alan concentrate on the sketch. An arcade, huh? I guess that makes sense. And I've never been in it, but I've passed by enough to know it's pretty popular. The only thing I know for sure is it's run by an old crime family. the current heir apparent, Christopher no way. I stand and turn to Joey. Tell me that dude isn't Christopher DeMonico. He flinches at my tone and grabs the table. The muscles in his arms flex as he digs his fingernails into the polished oak. His lack of denial is all the confirmation I need. Jeez, kid, how'd you get messed up with that guy? Alan finally realizes what I'm talking about. You're one of Toffer's boys? He sucks in a low whistle. I'm surprised he let you come over here alone. From what I've heard, he keeps his boys on a really short leash. Joey finally takes a breath and pulls back his shoulders. I'm not one of his boys anymore. I left yesterday. Yeah? Alan raises a brow and lets his eyes wander over Joey's battered face and arms. In that case, you look pretty good for someone who just left the family. What are you talking about, Al? I sit back down and try to breathe evenly, as if my heart isn't racing a mile a minute because the kid I'm infatuated with was just released from the only known crime family in Portland. Alan looks me straight in the eye, willing me to hear his words. You know what I mean, man. They don't usually let people walk away, but they did. This Toffer guy kicked Joey's butt, then put him on the streets, didn't he? It didn't even sound plausible in my own delusional mind. Looking over my shoulder, I see Joey curl into a ball on the chair with fear and shame tattooed across his face. Don't worry, kid. You're safe here. I know my promises don't mean anything, but he nods anyway, wanting them to be true as much as I do. This Toffer guy won't find him here. He doesn't know who I am or where I live. The only thing he knows about me is I work at the cart. Standing up again, I grabbed my phone and called Rachel. Hey, Rach. Try to sound casual, but there's a slight crack in my voice that I hope she doesn't hear. How's it going? Fine. She's rustling around in the background. How's Joey doing? I clear my throat. He's better. Cleaned up and rested. Hey, has anyone been by asking about him? No. She drops something and swears, then is back on the line. It's super busy, but no one has stopped by. Why? Is he in some trouble or something? She's such a mom. I know I can count on her to keep quiet. Nah, just a pissed off ex, maybe. If anyone does come by, tell them you've never seen or heard of him, okay? If they want to talk to me, I'll be in on Monday. There's beeping in the background, and she's probably only half listening, but she agrees. Sure thing, boss, gotta go. Scrubbing my hand down the scruff of my neck, I sit in the backwards chair and grab the drawing Alan worked up for my arm. It looks good. The golden waffle pattern is shaped like a house with a mound of whipped cream that will hide the helm of the dagger. I actually smile. It's silly, cartoony, nothing like any of my other art, but it's what I need. I need some silly. Let's do this. Alan nods and gets right to prepping my arm for his needle. I can feel Joey scoot closer to my back. He's not touching any part of me, but just knowing he's close enough to kiss makes my blood start to flow downward. The clean smell wafting up from his warm body makes me want to pull him against me. I have to clench my fists to keep them from reaching to him. Relax, man. Alan makes the first mark. The needle bites into my flesh and reminds me why I started getting inked in the first place, why I wanted to look hard and feel pain for so many years, but there's no time for wallowing. This one's not much of a talker. I playfully nod towards Joey. So tell me what you know about demonicos, I say to Alan. He glances at the scarred kid that is just inches away from me, then back at my forearm. I don't know much. They keep to themselves these days, but word is Toffer runs the arcades as a front for the rent boys he's got upstairs. Alan's still talking, but I can't hear the words. I'm frozen. My lungs won't even inflate as what he's saying sinks in. I look back to Joey, trying not to judge him for what he had to do. I certainly don't judge Caleb for the service he offers. I just hate that my little duck had to sell himself to survive. What worked for him? You worked for him? No, he almost shouts as he hears my accusations. Not like that. I know he'd probably be more comfortable if he were alone. Then again, maybe having Alan around makes it easier for him to be honest. He's already been recognized, so there's nothing to hide anymore. I can't wait for an answer. I need to hear it all, and hearing it while I'm unable to get up and hunt down that dude is probably for the best. So tell me what it was like. Joey stands up and begins to pace at the far end of the dining room, putting too much distance between us. I understand why, but I don't like it. I'm not exactly radiating calm or serenity at the moment. I was one of his privates. He keeps 3 or 4 at his place for himself and his close friends. We didn't take clients like the other guys. Well, thank God for that. What did you do? His eyes begged me to let it go, but that ship has sailed. We're doing this now. You know what I did. You saw me every day. He slinks back into his chair and clenches his hands together as if in prayer. I was the one he took out with him. We walked to the bank to make deposit, then stop at a coffee shop at 5:30 every afternoon. Publicly, I was his assistant, and privately, I asked through gritted teeth, my stomach in knots at the visuals that were both pissing me off and making me excited, which pisses me off even more. Why do you want to hear this? He's up again and pacing. It's humiliating and disgusting. I'm disgusting. I should just leave. He takes one step toward the front door, and I'm out of the chair, ripping a hole in my skin as Alan tries to pull out the needle that's hooked under it. Steve, he reaches for a towel to pat the blood streaming down my arm. You can't do that. I don't even respond to Alan. I'm in Joey's face in two strides. You're not going anywhere. Holding him by his locked biceps, I carry him back to the seat beside me and drop him into it. Then I pull the chair around so he's sitting between myself and Alan. The only thing keeping me from losing my mind is being close enough to hold the edge of his chair. It takes a minute for Joey to lean back, but the warm weight against my hand helps calm his beating heart, too. Alan grabs my wrist and my attention, then goes back to the outline he isn't even close to being finished with. Do me a favor, kid. He glances at Joe with a smile. Stay in that chair so I'm not trying to cover up a jagged line down his arm. I watch Joey as the corners of his mouth actually tug up for just a second. He takes a few more minutes to gather his thoughts before starting in again, his gaze not wavering from the marks Alan's etching into me. I was one of his pets. He didn't pay me, but he provided everything I needed: food, shelter, clothes. I was working off a debt. What kind of debt? Playing with the hem of his hoodie, he doesn't look up. My dad lost his job and couldn't help keep up my tuition payments. I had to quit school last year to make some money. When I took a job at Paddles, Toffer took an interest in me. He leans forward like he's about to stand again, and my palm immediately goes to the nape of his neck, holding him in place. He's as shocked as I am at the possessive move, but after letting out a deep breath, he leans back into my grip. I should remove it, but I can't. I don't want to. I need the contact with his skin to keep from putting my fist through the table. Anyway, Toffer agreed to pay off my back tuition if I worked for him for a year. Glances up to my eyes for just a second before looking away again. That was 6 months ago. Keep going. That's still only part of the story. I have to hear it all. I've been with him since, but last night I finally told him I wanted out. Joey's ears turned red, but he keeps a stoic expression. And what did the jerk say about that? I asked. The jerk, huh? Alan chuckles. Lesser men have lost their heads over comments like that. I'd love for him to try and come and get it. Noticing the frown on Joey's face, I gently squeezed his neck to encourage him to go on. So, what did he say when you told him you wanted out? You saw my back. As soon as he went to sleep, I left. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm gonna kill him. My butt lifts from the chair as Alan tightens his grip around my wrist. Not right now, you're not. He yanks me back to a fully seated position. Chill out until I finish this. How much do you owe him? A lot. Joey's whisper is barely louder than the buzz of the needle. Joey, the command in my voice, it was intense enough. I can feel him shivering beneath my hand. How much? He said it's still over 40,000. Wow, kid, that was a lot of favors he'd have to work off for the dude. Joey looks away, shame clear and evident on his beautiful face. I look to Alan. What'll he do? Alan shrugs and lets out a low whistle. Depends on how badly he wants that money. I didn't mean to get you involved. Joey pulls his legs up and rests his cheek on the knees in a position I've come to recognize as his means to comfort himself. It's okay, kid. I gave him a quick pat, then moved my hand to squeeze the bridge of my nose and close my eyes. I need to think. The soft whimper from my side surprises me. With the faintest of grins, I put my hand back on his neck and give him a little shake, watching his tense body lean into it. We'll figure it out, kid. You're safe for now. My thumb brushes against the baby-fine hair on his neck while I look to Alan. Okay, Al, what do you think? How do you get yourself into this stuff? He laughs. I know a few people. I'll see if they've heard of anything. Maybe Toffer's going to let this one go. Chapter 7. After Alan takes off, I order a couple of pizzas and settle on the couch with Joey. He's still yo-yoing between looking relaxed and happy, then scared and jumpy. Until I find out how this Toffer dude plans to collect his debt, there isn't much I can do to reassure him he's safe. So I do what I do best, avoid the problem with distraction. It's usually not the smart move, but if it gets us through the night, I'll take it. That distraction usually comes in the form of sweaty activities, but that's not an option, so I've got to tone things down a bit. You want to watch a movie? I turn on the Apple TV and flip through the new releases. Joey nods and curls into the far corner of the couch. That's good. I'm on the opposite end, so there's a few feet between us, but not too many. Neither of us are paying much attention, so I click on the latest Fast and Furious movie, then grab a few beers. As I hand him an open bottle, I can't help myself from teasing him. You are old enough to drink, right? He gives me one of his first genuine smiles I've seen in a month. Yes, I'm 23. He's just a baby. We nurse our peers for the movie without saying much. When the doorbell rings, we both startle and that panicky look is back on his face. I'd give anything to get him to the place where he feels safe again, but it's going to be a long journey for this kid. It's just the pizza guy. I squeeze his knee and go to the door to pay the man. By the time the movie's over, Joey's feet are inches from my lap, and he's asleep in the corner of the sofa. Wrapping one palm around his foot, I hold it for just a second before lightly shaking him awake. Hey, sleepy duck, time for bed. Hmm? He opens his eyes and looks around, disoriented at first. Then he relaxes. Sorry, I must have fallen asleep. No apologies necessary. All those loud engines and chase scenes and bullets flying could put anyone to sleep. I wink at his confused expression. Up you go. I stand and hold out a hand to him. He doesn't even hesitate this time when he places his small hand in mine and lets me pull him to his feet. Walking him to his room, I don't let go of his hand. I want to wrap my arm around him, but I hold back. It takes every ounce of strength I have to not drag him up to my room and into my bed. Are you going to sleep too? He asks when he reaches the side of his bed. In a bit. I'll be up in my room with the door open if you need anything. Just yell or come find me. He nods and pulls back the sheet. I want to stand over him all night and just watch him sleep, make sure he's safe, but I force myself to turn and shuffle off to my room. I won't, I promise, please. The sound of shouting has me on my feet and down the stairs in 3 seconds flat. Joey's screaming at someone in my house. I tear into his room, ready to kill, and find him thrashing in the bed, tangled up in the sheets. Please stop, I won't run. I can only understand part of what he's saying. The rest of his words are jumbled and don't make sense, but he's terrified, and so I have to wake him up. As soon as I reach for his flailing fist, it starts to buck even harder. His head flings back and into a headboard with enough force to shake the whole bed. He's gonna crack his skull open. Not wanting to hurt himself any worse, I secure his arms and hold them against his body. He's still squirming, but at least he isn't making impact with anything. Shh, shh. I coo in his ear. You're safe, little duck. At the mention of his nickname, he stills. I'm not sure if he's awake or not, but at least he's calm. You're okay now. I'm here. It's just Steve. I'm sitting on the bed with him in my lap, not quite sure how he ended up in this position. I can feel when he wakes up completely and realizes where he's at and who he's with. He inhales deeply a few times before whispering, I'm sorry. This kid is always apologizing, and I have to wonder what it is he thinks he's done that's so bad. Nothing to be sorry for, kid. You just had a bad dream. He nods and relaxes into my embrace. I remember his bruised ribs and torn up back and quickly release my death grip on him. No, he tries to hold on to me, but since I'm only wearing boxer briefs, there isn't much to grab but the small patch of cropped hair on my chest. Don't go. My arms wrap around him again. I'm not going anywhere. We sat in the dark for a while before I feel him fully relax, and I know he's asleep. Cradling Joey against my chest, I stand and lay him on his side and cover him up. Again, I want to stay there all night, but I know I shouldn't. I don't want to scare him even worse if he wakes up and I'm watching him like a stalker. It's just after midnight when I get back in bed, but I can't sleep. I keep hearing his words in my head. Don't go. Did he want me to stay all night? Will he feel abandoned if he wakes up and I'm gone? I'm tempted to check on him when the half-open door to my room creaks open a few more inches. Lifting my head, I see Joey in the doorway. Everything okay? I asked quietly. Oh, He sounded surprised. He must have thought I'd be asleep. I'm sorry for waking you. I was just, never mind. He turns away. Little duck? He stops and turns back towards me. Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. You want to lay in here for a while? Can I? You don't have to ask. I pull back the covers and he tentatively walks towards the bed and climbs in, hugging the edge of the mattress. I give him space, but not too much. I can't help it when my fingers ruffle in his hair a bit, then stay tangled in his silky strands for the rest of the night. I must have fallen asleep quickly after that because when I feel the heat of the day beating in from the uncovered window, I realize it's not just morning sun that's warming my body. Joey's slight frame is fully pressed against me with one knee bent between my thighs and his hands wrapped around the wide bicep his perfect head is resting on. He smells so good in the morning, warm and clean. I want to eat him right up. That's when I look down and see that I'm poking out of the top of my boxers. Moving as slowly as I can, I reach for the comforter that had been kicked away during the night and pull it toward my belly. I'm almost completely covered when I hear a sharp intake of air just below my head. I cover myself quickly and hold my breath, waiting for his panic to set in. He's just as still as I am. When it's obvious he's not going to say anything, I lean down and place a light kiss on the top of his head. Morning, little duck. Did you sleep well? Still as a statue, and I'm starting to feel self-conscious about what he saw. Poor kid. Maybe he didn't come across many body mods during this time with Demonico. Sorry about that. I guess I was having a good dream. I try to make a joke out of it, but he still isn't speaking. I finally sit up on elbow to get his attention. That's when I see where his gaze is fixed. It isn't anywhere near my body. It's locked on the far side of my room, the side where a full-size swing hangs from the rafters. Oh, now I wish he'd been frightened by my accidental flashing. Oh, the swing? Um, I'm going for a nonchalance, but I know I sound like an idiot. You tried one before? I'm somewhat surprised when I feel him shake his head against my chest. That's yours? I have to laugh. It is. I've only used it a few times. Haven't actually been in it myself, but it's pretty fun. I feel goosebumps snake down his body and instinctively rub the arm my hand is resting on. He glances up at me with a shy smile. Yeah? Maybe someday I'll let you test it out. I wink at him. If you're a bad boy. He likes the idea of using the swing, or being a bad boy, or both. This should be fun. After a simple breakfast of eggs and toast, I load Joey in my truck and we head to the mall in Beaverton. It's not too far, but it's far enough that he isn't worried about seeing Topher or any of the guys. Between Old Navy and PacSun, we pick up an entire new wardrobe, complete with socks, underwear, 2 pairs of Vans. I'm seriously feeling like a pedophile when he comes out of the dressing room looking like a 12-year-old skater boy. I'm gonna have to see some ID, kiddo. He just laughs and drags me towards Jamba Juice. Want to share one? The simplest things make this kid happy, which makes me happier than I've been in a very long time. Yeah, what kind do you like? He studies the menu for a minute, then points to one, razzmatazz. It sounds like a cup full of sugar to me, but if that's what my little duck wants, that's what my little duck will get. I turn to the cashier with a stupid grin on my face. One large razzmatazz. She looks at us. You want to pour it into 2 cups? I look down at Joey. His cheeks only turn a slight pink as she shakes his head. One large razzmatazz coming up. She smiles at us as she takes a credit card. I almost ask her what she sees that is making her smile. Is she amused by my childlike enthusiasm for a fruit smoothie? Does she think he's hot and is trying to get his attention? Does she see 2 people who are just enjoying time together? Truly, I don't care what she sees. All I know is I've had the best day of my life, and it's barely noon. Chapter 8. We wander around the mall longer than we need to. Our shopping is done, and we've made 2 complete circuits when I finally lead Joey back out towards my truck. You ready to head back? Not really. His sweet smile and bright blue eyes remind me of Caleb, and I want to protect him even more. Joey knows we could be walking into a time bomb once we get back to my house. The end of the weekend means the beginning of a potentially deadly reality. You got anything in mind? I nudge his shoulder as we walk, careful not to touch his wounds. Can you play pool? He asks. I can. I am suspiciously. You? He just shrugs and tries to keep his lips from pulling up into the corners. Okay, this kid has a terrible poker face. At least I know he can't lie. Pool it is. I drive us straight to Ray's. It's early, but they open for lunch on the weekend, so there's a handful of people inside, and Caleb is behind the bar. Hey, big guy, Caleb nods to me. Don't usually see you in here during the day. Hey, kid. Rach is covering for me this weekend. I look toward Joy. You want a beer? A Coke would be good. Looking back to Caleb, I order 2 Cokes and point towards the tables in the back. We'll be playing. Caleb nods. He grabs a few glasses. I'll bring 'em out in a minute. I lead Joey to the back room and grab a stick. He stretches his arms over his head and leans to each side like he's preparing for a double axel or something. You got some aerobic moves I should know about? I can't wipe the stupid grin off my face, even though I know I look like an idiot. He does a little leg bend stretch that makes me laugh out loud. Now I'm not sure if he's seriously this adorable or just trying to mess with me. I can shoot. Tease. Oops. Did I say that out loud? He stills for just a second in front of the rack and chuckles. You want a break, big guy? He says the last part in a high-pitched voice like he's mocking Caleb, but his grin doesn't shrink. In fact, it seems to get a little bigger as my eyebrow pops up. Is that jealousy he's hinting at? I wave toward the racked balls. By all means, show me what you got, Scratch. Joey leans over the table and lines up his shot. In my mind, I can see his bare back on display for me to ravish. He releases the stick and every ball moves except the cue ball, which rolls about an inch back and stops while every other ball finds a hole to land in. My jaw is slack, and Joey looks like he's about to pass out. Wow, boy, that was pretty impressive. I hear Caleb slow clapping behind me, but I don't even look back. My eyes are locked on Joey's as he takes his perfect break. Did you see that? He whispers. Did you see that, right? He looks to me for confirmation that his eyes aren't playing tricks on him. Okay, maybe he is that adorable. I saw it, little duck. His grin is the widest I've seen yet, and 2 dimples he's been hiding finally make an appearance. I've never done that before. Let's see if you can do it again. I reached for one of the Cokes Caleb set on the table behind me and take a drink. Winner racks. He quickly gathers all the balls and gets set up for our next game. This time I break first and drop 3 straight. Good enough. That first shot wasn't pure luck. He's actually really good with a stick. I can't help smirking when I imagine him with my stick. Head out of the gutter, old man. This is supposed to be a fun day. After an hour of having my butt handed to me, we settle at a table and order wings and a pitcher. I don't drink much, but I'll have a glass. Joey admits shyly, why not? What? He seems surprised by my question. Oh, well, I've seen what alcohol can do to people, and I'm probably disposed to being an addict, so I try to stay away from things that make me out of control. Interesting, he was recently with one of the city's most well-known doms, one who not only operates a male brothel, but launders millions of dollars through their chain of arcades. But Joey doesn't like to be out of control. I'd have to explore more about that at the house. I can respect that. I gesture towards his nearly empty Coke glass. Would you rather have some more pop? That's okay. 1 beer's fine. I deserve it after that breakdown I gave you for the past hour. And he's getting bold, is he? Well, don't get too cocky, kid. I could still teach you a thing or two. Joey's eyes shot to mine and hold for just a second before adverting down to his hands. He's trying to hold back a grin, but quickly loses the battle before finally saying, I'd like to see you try. This kid is too tempting. Carefully what you wish for. I say it as a joke, but I feel it in my gut when his eyes move to my mouth and darken hungrily. Don't let me interrupt, Caleb says quickly as he slides the picture and 2 icy mugs across the table before setting a basket of wings in the center. Caleb turns so he's facing me and mouths, cute. Before walking away with the empty tray. Joey is definitely cute and vulnerable and not looking for someone like me to take advantage of him again. He needs to get out of his mess with Demonico before he can even think about getting into another relationship. When we pull up to the house, we're both alert to the area around us. It's early evening, but fall rolls in fast in Portland and the sun is already starting to fade on the horizon. Joey gets out of the truck and takes a look around as if expecting someone from Toffer Crew to pop out from behind a bush and drag him back to the penthouse prison he'd been living in for the past 6 months. When he doesn't move on his own, I grab his bags from behind the seat and carefully rest my palm on his bicep. Let's go, little duck. Once we get inside, I walk Joey to his room and begin to unload his bags, placing his new clothes in the empty dresser. You don't have to do that. He's back to being shy, and I hate it. I want the smiling and confident kid who kicked my butt in one shot of his stick back. Why not? I'm in the middle of folding a T-shirt as I wait for his response. I don't want him to think I'm forcing him to stay, but I definitely don't want him to think about leaving. Well, he sits on the edge of the bed and studies the carpet. I know I'm only here for a few days, so you might as well leave them in bags, unless you want to keep them. God, he's adorable when he's insecure, but I still hate it. I place the folded shirt in the drawer and pull another out of the PacSun bag. You want to leave in a few days? He shifts his weight so he can watch me in the mirror. Well, you know. Nope. I toss the packs of his socks and underwear in the top drawer. I don't know why you want to leave, but please tell me so I can try to change your mind. His stare is burning into me. I place both palms on the top of the dresser and lean into it, looking straight at him through the mirror. It's not that I want to leave. I just don't want to overstay my welcome. His confidence is coming back, and his gaze doesn't waver from mine. You're welcome to stay for as long as you want to be here. I turn and walk toward him. I certainly don't want you to leave anytime soon. I can't stay here forever. I need to get a job so I can pay back Toffer before he does something drastic. I should leave town. Weaving my fingers in Joey's baby fine hair, I pull him forward and give him a kiss on the head. Let me see what I can do about him. Just focus on getting all healed up for now. Really? His lip quivers with the hopefulness reflected in his eyes. Really? I take a step back and tuck my chin so I'm looking right at him. You hungry, or do the wings ruin your appetite? I'm not really hungry, he whispered. The thickness in his voice sounds like he's hungry for something, but not necessarily food. Unfortunately, neither of us are ready to go there, so I ignore the tightness of my own jeans and step back. Okay, then I'm going to hit the gym downstairs for a bit. You can do whatever you want. He nods as I walk away. It's harder to concentrate on the bag today than it was yesterday. I keep missing my counts and slipping off. I almost knock myself out when I hear footsteps coming down the stairs. When Joey doesn't announce himself, I continue as if I don't know he's there. Unable to focus, I take off my gloves and move to the treadmill. There's a TV I usually watch in front of it, but I don't turn it on. Instead, I think about the Demonico situation. The money isn't the problem. If it'll keep Joey safe, I'll get it. I've got half of what he needs in the business account, so I can pull from that. The rest will have to come from investments. So it'll take a few days to liquidate. But will that be good enough for Toffer freaking Demonico? He has enough cash to write this off, but if he's taken more than a passing interest in Joey, he might not let him go at any price. I know I sure wouldn't, and I just met the kid. After 20 minutes of running at my top speed, I smack the red stop button and hop off. The abrupt halt shocks Joe, and he almost jumps out of his skin. His breath heaves as he looks around the room for whatever threat he perceives stopped my workout. It's okay, sweetheart. I smiled and walked toward him, wiping my face and neck with a towel. I'm sorry if I startled you. Are you okay? He looks a little green, but his voice is strong. Why'd you stop? I'm all done. I reach out my hand as I approach him. What? Was the view so nice you didn't want me to stop? His cheeks pink up, but he doesn't tuck his chin. He looks at my chest and then lets his eyes wander down to my shorts. This view's pretty good, too. As he stands up from the stair step, his smirk makes me twitch. I better not mess things up with him, like I always do. You hungry yet? I can make something light after I take a shower. I toss the towel into the basket in the laundry room as we pass by it. I could eat. He opens the pantry and looks inside. I can make something if you're not too picky, maybe pasta or sandwiches. Sounds great. I lightly smack his behind as I leave the kitchen. I like a man that can cook. His only response is a high squeak before I'm heading up the stairs. I kick off my shoes and peel off my socks and shorts so I can get back upstairs as quickly as possible. I want to watch him while he makes me a meal in my kitchen. Just the image of coming home to that scene is enough to get me excited before I've even stepped away under the spray. Chapter 9. As soon as I'm out of the shower, the aroma from the kitchen assaults me. It's not just garlic and tomato that I smell. There's something else I can't quite place. I step into a pair of loose sweats and a Niners t-shirt, then head downstairs. Oh, you're done. Joey has the dinner table set and is pulling a bottle of Chardonnay from the fridge. Do you mind if we open this? Not at all, although I'm surprised he wants wine with dinner. I don't mind. I usually have a glass or two at night. It smells delicious in here. It's just penne with a jar of sauce, but I added a few spices. Excellent. Lift the lid to the simmering saucepan and peek inside. Can I help with anything? He takes a quick look around and hands me a large glass bowl. I think I saw a bagged salad in there. Do you want to pull it out and toss it in here? He's so sexy when he's in charge. Sure thing, little duck. He tucks his head and turns, but not before I see a grin spread across his face. Pulling open the oven, he peeks inside, and I found some cookie mix. I hope you don't mind. That's what else I smell. I've been dying for cookies, but didn't want to make a whole batch for myself. I lean away from the sink I'm rinsing the lettuce in and place a kiss on his temple. Thanks, kid. You do realize I'm only a few years younger than you, right? He's leaning on his hip with a pot holder in his hand, and I have to force back the growl that wants to escape my throat just from looking at him. Technically, yes. They pull out the strainer and hand it to him, but I think I've lived more in those extra years, so I gotta call you a kid. He raises an eyebrow, then turns to strain the pot of pasta. Well, if that's the case, old man, you probably shouldn't be running so fast on that treadmill. You might break a hip. I chuckle lightly as I pull the saucepan off the stove and pour it over the pasta Joey has spread on the platter. Don't you worry about my hip. They can outmaneuver yours any day of the week. His body stills beside me, and I notice he takes a deep breath without letting it out. And you called me a tease? He whispers as he turns with the platter and walks stiffly to the dining room. Our dinner is simple and delicious, and I can't recall a more enjoyable meal. Joey talks about studying to become a teacher and what it was like to grow up in Phoenix. It's not until we take our last sips of wine that his demeanor starts to change. Do you have to go to work tomorrow? He's twisting his wine glass in his hand, watching the final drip swirl in the base. I lean back in my chair, watching his facial cues. Yeah, he just nods. I leave around 7:15 on Mondays, so if you're still asleep, I won't wake you. He nods again without looking up. I usually work all day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I won't be home until around 6:30. Joey's shoulders slump forward just a bit. Will you be okay here all day? You can play with the Xbox or watch movies or use the gym or anything you want. I'll be fine, he whispers. Before I can stop myself, I stand and walk to the other side of the table, kneeling on my heels. I grab his hand until he finally makes eye contact. You'll be safe here. You just focus on getting healed up, then you can think about getting a job so you aren't bored all day. Okay. His frown is heartbreaking as he leans sideways and wraps his arms around my shoulders. Thanks, Steve. You're welcome, little duck. He melts in my arms and doesn't pull back. I relish his sweet scent for another minute before I stand with him still in my arms. Didn't you say something about cookies? He nods into my neck, then looks up at me through long blonde lashes. Let me clean up, then I'll get us a plate. You get the cookies and I'll clean up the dishes. I don't want to wait any longer than necessary. He's staring at my mouth when he smirks and says, well, let's not make the master wait. The boy is killing me. I hold on to the back of his chair to keep from shoving him to his knees. The temptation of having him so close but needing to stay at arm's length will be the death of me. I quickly gather our mess and load the dishwasher while he fills a plate with chocolatey chip goodness. I get to the sofa first and sit in the middle, hoping he'll sit right next to me instead of in his usual corner. I turn on the TV while he decides. When I feel his thigh against mine, I know it's going to be a long night. I'm already excited, and the loose sweats don't do much to keep me in place. As obvious as I know it is, I reach for the only throw pillow in the room and place it on my lap. Joey pats my biceps as if he's telling me not to be embarrassed. Oh, really? I look to him and see his proud eyes sparkling while he looks at the pillow. So he wants to play that game? Fine. I remove the pillow and lean back. I'm not embarrassed, but I do question the intelligence of teasing him when I have zero intentions of letting him get near me. It's way too soon, and he's not well enough for the kind of vigorous activity that would require. But no one ever accused me of being intelligent, so I casually reach down and rub myself to ease the pressure. I can feel Joey's eyes on me with entire time, but I don't acknowledge the elephant between us, literally. What do you want to watch? I turn on the guide and start flipping through the listings. SOA? He jumps a little, then looks up at the screen. Oh, yeah, that's fine. You do like the bad boys, don't you? He grins a little, but doesn't look to me. He just shrugs. But the jerk is about as stiff as you can get. What was the attraction? tuition. He glances at me, then reaches for a cookie. I just wanted to get my student loans paid off so I wouldn't owe my parents anything and I could finish my degree. Just one more reason Joey reminds me of Caleb. Both are smart kids that just want to get a degree so they can take care of themselves when no one else will. It only furthers my resolve to do everything I can to help. I'll go back eventually. He reaches for the remote and turns the volume up high enough that conversation isn't easy. Smart move. Too bad that crap doesn't work with me. I hit the pause button. Do you want to go back now? He shakes his head. No, not yet. Maybe someday. Right now, I just need to get a job and start saving money. I'll think about that in a few years when the timing is better. Yeah, how many times have I said those exact words about everything that was ever important to me? High school, college, Zach, my business. This is an easy trap to fall into. There's no such thing as good timing for life, sweetheart. His arm brushes mine as he leans into me a little further. You just have to do things that matter when they matter to you, before it's too late. He laughs like I'm making a joke. Right, well, as soon as I'm not in debt to the heir of a longtime crime family who want me to sell myself to pay him back, I'll start thinking about enrolling in my credential classes. Touche. School and a job aren't even a possibility until we know what Delmonico plans for Joey. If they don't do anything over the coming days, maybe everything will be fine, but what is the likelihood of that? We watched 2 episodes and are both sporting wood by the time Joey starts to yawn. If you're not up when I leave, just help yourself to anything in the house. Explore, play, do whatever you want. A frown mars his beautiful face as he nods and whispers, okay. Hey, I lift his chin with an index finger and turn it towards me. You're going to be fine. Just think of this time as a vacation, albeit the lamest vacation ever known to man. But pretend you're on vacation anyways. I get a half smile as he leans into me and gives me a hug. Good night, Steve. We both stand. Good night, little duck. Just as he's about to close the door, I stop him. Joey? He pokes his head out the doorway. Yeah? If you get lonely, you know where to find me. No invitation needed. He graces me with a real grin and disappears into the dark guest room. This time it only takes about an hour before I see a thin figure in my doorway. Beams of moonlight filtering through the gaps in my curtains landed right above his head and created a halo effect. He truly is my angel. He only hesitates a second before walking to my bed and climbing in beside me. I'd like to think positioning myself on my back in the middle of my bed wasn't a strategic decision, but it was. I'm forcing him to be closer to me by his own choice. He's making the decision to trust when he is most vulnerable. With this deliberate gesture, my heart swells and opens up even more to this sweet boy that I'd do anything to protect. Without a word, he settles on the far side with only the back of his t-shirt and the soft cotton of his boxers touching my side. Trying to keep my breathing steady, I shift my weight so I'm on my right hip, turning into his body. With a supple scoot forward, Joey is spooned up into me, and my palm is rested on his hip. We both exhale deeply, finally comfortable enough to sleep. This is what I need. I need to fit with someone. This sweet boy just walked right into my life and filled in the empty space I'd been trying to duct tape together for years. Just as I began to wonder if he feels the same way, his hand falls on mine and interlaces with my fingers still securely on his hip. Once his breathing slows down, I know Joey's asleep, and I quickly follow. My dreams of Joey have only become more vivid over the past week. Drifting off with my hand on his hip and his fingers locked around mine takes them to a whole new level. He looks into my eyes as he rubs against me. His crystal blue eyes convey so much trust and hope that I lean forward, brushing my lips roughly against his. My mouth holds against his slightly parted lips for a moment before he groans and opens wider, accepting my tongue and embracing it with his own. Just when I'm about to tear off my shorts, his mouth, a smooth hand flattens on my chest and slides down each ab until it reaches the waistband. Kid, do that again. His other hand pulls my boxers down just far enough to completely expose me. The heated image causes me to jerk back, only then realizing it's not a dream. I'm awake, and Joey has me in his hand. Joey, what are you doing? I asked quietly, in shock as it was happening. Should I stop? His voice quivers, and I wonder if it's lust or embarrassment that makes it crack, or could it be the fear of rejection? Did my sweet ducky actually think I don't want him? Sweetheart, I shift my weight so I'm hovering over him. His hands don't leave me as I position myself so we're eye to eye. I can't resist his sweet lips as I brush against them one more time. I'm loving this, but I want to know why you're doing it. Did you have another bad dream? He shakes his head and his lip tug up in the corners for a split second before they relax again. Did you have a good dream? Now I'm the one smirking at his sudden bashfulness. He meets my gaze and drops his chin in the slightest nod. Me too. I kiss him again, this time allowing his tongue to enter my mouth. I close my lips around it and suck deeply before releasing it. Then I realized it wasn't a dream. It was really happening. His relief is evident as his right hand squeezes me. So you're not mad? I'm not mad, baby. My words come out raspy as I rest my forehead against his and rock into the velvet fingers a few more times. But I only want to do this if you really want it. Because you feel like you owe me anything. I want to, Steve. I need to. His voice is thick with lust, but I can hear his sincerity. I really want you. That's good enough for me. I take his mouth again, fiercely claiming it until neither of us can breathe. We battle for tongue dominance as I get lost in his sweet flavor. His breath mingles with mine, and I feel emotion in my gut that I haven't felt in a long time, if ever. I turn away just enough to taste down his jaw until I'm blowing my hot breath into his ear. Then by all means, take me, little duck. We look beautiful together, a perfect match, my olive skin with the silver ring at the tip. He looks heated and eager for attention. I can't resist him any longer. I've wanted him for too long to waste another second. Reaching down, I rub my finger across him and raise it to my tongue and lick it clean. God, you taste good. I savor the flavor, hoping it's not the last time I have it in my mouth. With one hand holding up my weight, I pinch his skin, twirling it before moving to his right. He whimpers at the spike of painful pleasure, then bucks even harder. The sight is too much for me. I finally give him as waves of happiness flow through us both. God, baby, you sure know how to wake a guy up. I let my fingers trail his belly, then I taste him, as I suspected. He smiles, gazing at me from under heavy lids, a look of ecstasy on his face. What's that? We taste even better together. I move my middle finger to his mouth. He catches it with his teeth and sucks it in. His eyes drift closed as he swirls his tongue around my finger. When he pulls off, his eyes slowly open and meet mine. Well, that's pretty good, but I don't really have anything to compare it to. Joey shrugs with an evil glint in his glassy eyes. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it. I guess so. Resting my head on his bicep, I place my arm across his waist and pull him tightly against my skin so we're touching from head to toe. Good night. I close my eyes, trying to keep my features neutral. His frozen body and complete silence makes it impossible for me to keep a straight face. Peeking wide eye open, I see him staring at me with his open mouth. I can't resist his pull. You better close those pretty lips before I put something hard between them. His genuine smile is back as he realizes I'm not done with him. You meanie. He tugs my nipple ring enough to make me gasp. His smile is intoxicating. I'm a meanie, am I? My hushed words betray my indifference. He can hear how much I want him. In just the few short days he's been with me, I've learned he needs a controlling, if not dominating hand to make him feel secure. But he also needs enough space to joke around and keep things fun. It'll be a delicate balance we'll have to work on for a while if we want to get it right. And I do want to get it right. I wrap my thick fingers around his wrist and hold it to my heart. Just for that, little duck, you don't get to taste me after all. His lower lip juts out, but he doesn't know if I'm teasing again. Part of me wants to smile and tell him to do whatever he wants, but if I'm going to do this without messing him up, I have to at least try to give him what he needs. I lean into him, dragging my tongue across his lower lip before gently taking the delicate flesh between my teeth and pulling off. If you're a good boy while I'm at work, maybe we can try again tonight. His disappointment is obvious, and I don't ever want to disappoint this boy, but we have to take things slow. I've never successfully done slow in the past, but it's time to start doing things differently, making different choices. I can make slow work. I have to. Chapter 10. As soon as I arrive at the Waffle House, I know something isn't right. There's nothing outwardly disturbed, but I can feel that something is off. My key slides right into the door, and it opens as easily as it does every morning, but when I step in, I notice my files are wrong. Rachel is very type A and keeps the books organized meticulously. The accounting records are always filled in the red accordion case on the right side of the extra to-go containers. Today, they're switched. I'm not one to easily panic, so I try to keep as calm as possible when I begin setting up for the morning. While I turn the ovens on and get the batter mixed, I call Rachel on speakerphone. She picks up on the third ring, an obvious sign that she's busy. Good morning, lover boy. Good morning, brat. I push open the shutters and am relieved to find no one waiting on the other side. I just have a quick question for you. What's up? Do you remember if you swapped the location of the accordion file case on the shelf over the weekend? I hear an anxiety creeping in my voice, but I can't stop it from happening. She's laughing. You're joking, right? Why would I do something like that? Doesn't make any sense to put the files we use daily somewhere less accessible than the containers we only restock weekly. Did you have a little too much fun this weekend and now you're not firing on all cylinders? You know I wouldn't. Okay, okay. I lean into the counter and scrub my hand over my head, cutting off her rant while I still can. Sorry I asked. I just thought something looked different. My mistake. Well, if anything is different, you must have moved it because everything was perfectly correct when I closed up last night. Thanks, Rach. I sighed deeply, then look up to see a customer waiting. Gotta run. I'll see you tomorrow. The little voice in the back of my mind tells me to freak out and rush home to check on Joey, but the rational part reminds me he is safely tucked away in my bed, covered in the evidence of our early morning activities and hopefully dreaming about his reward for being good. Again, trying to do things the right way and not the way I usually do, which is always wrong when it comes to relationships. I go about my morning. After the first waffle is served, business doesn't slow down until well after lunch. I finally have a break and call the house. The phone rings 5 times before the answering machine picks up. Hey, little duck, it's me. If you're around, pick up. I wait a good 30 seconds before realizing he probably can't hear it in the den if he's watching TV or playing games. Well, you're probably busy, so I'll see you around 6:30. Not being able to get in touch with him wears on me. I wish would have picked up a phone for him when we were shopping. I'm silent, berating myself when I hear a throat clear in the window. Looking up, I see the jerk himself staring at me. My hands naturally curl into fists when I see the punk smirk on his face. I don't reach out the window and wrap my fingers around his throat, then force him through the 9-inch opening, getting him on the way in. Then I'd really punish him for what he did to Joey. But at the thought of Joey's sweet face on the pillow, I take a deep breath and lean into the open window. Can I help you? I try for a cordial, but I'm sure it comes out as annoyed. I think you have something of mine. His hard stare doesn't waver as he bores holes through me with his jet black eyes, and I'd like it back. I think you're mistaken. My voice now is a hard edge that I'm not even trying to hide. Nothing I have is yours, so it's probably best if you just move on before I have to call the police. Toffer laughs in my face and nods. Please do. My friends would love to hear from you. His voice gets low, and I almost can't hear it when he says, they're so loyal. He's got the police in his pocket. Damn, it just pisses me off more. Of course, I'm not surprised. His family's been around for generations, so there must be several not only planted in local law enforcement, but also in the books for one reason or another. I didn't realize times were so tough you'd go to such means to get back a few bucks. I guess the economy hasn't recovered everywhere, eh? No sense in playing dumb when he obviously knows I'm involved in some way. If he had a goon search the shop, he knows Joey came to me. If he can hold off the power company for a few days, the debt will be taken care of by the end of the week. The debt? He looks confused and laughs. Oh, you mean the money? No, that's not what I want. Our arrangement was for repayment in services, not cash. I still got half a year of physical payment coming, and if he doesn't show up in my bed by the time I return from a business trip on Thursday, I'll have to seek repayment from his next of kin. Next of kin. You're going after his parents? I wouldn't have pegged you as into the geriatric types, but I'll be sure his parents are expecting your call. Oh, you're a jokester. I love a good laugh. He rubs his palm down the panel of his tailored jacket, hooking his thumb in his waistband as he whispers, and I always have the last laugh. Whatever, I don't have time for this crap. I've already put the sale order in for stock I've been holding in my buddy's company. Spencer's fashion shop app has been approached by all the big social network sites, which has driven up the value over the past 8 months. Liquidating a few of those shares was an easy decision to make. Like I said, you'll get the money by the end of the week. It's over, man. I do admire your confidence, but you clearly don't know who you're talking to. It's over when I say it's over, and right now, all I have to say is you better make sure he's in my bed by Thursday. How much do you want to walk away?
That particular asset is more valuable to me than money. I have enough of that. You won't take his money? My teeth are clenched as I ground out the words. If not for the pregnant woman with a toddler standing just a few feet behind him, I'd rip his throat out. His money. That's cute. Did he tell you he has money? The jerk fake laughs as he leans back an inch, taking a pointed look at my storefront. He doesn't have any, and I know a donut maker can't afford to cover it. He leans in closer, whispering with lust dripping from each word. Besides, he's a fun lay. Gets feisty when it's rough. I'm not ready to say goodbye quite yet. My arm connects with his face before I can stop it. The woman looks up in horror, then screams and drags her son by his shirt away from my shop. Good. I don't need any more witnesses than necessary. Toffer's mouth is bleeding, but his nose isn't. Crap. I hoped to mess up that pretty little stuck-up nose, but I'm not done with that dude. I throw him to the ground with as much strength as I can leverage from the awkward position, then run out the door and rush to the street window. I hope to finish him off and make it clear that he'll never have Joey back, but all I see is the back of a white Maserati as it pulls off the curb. It's a dealer plate, so I can't get the number, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's not like I can go to the police for protection. I've got to figure out how to protect Joey on my own. Slamming the shutters closed, I flip off the power switch to the trailer and lock the door. Until I see that Joey's okay, I won't be able to focus on work or how to get this mess resolved. I ride through the quiet residential neighborhood like a bat out of hell. I feel like the devil himself, ready to take my pound of flesh from anyone who has ever hurt Joey in the past or threatens to hurt him in the future. I almost drop the bike on the lawn, but it lands on the kickstand with a bounce as I run up the front porch. My heart is racing as I jam my key in the door and fling it open forcefully enough to make the old house shake. I don't bother to close the door as I begin my search for the sweet boy that I promised to keep safe. Joey! I tear into the living room, praying to find him on the couch with a video controller or remote in his hand. I'd even be happy to find him watching more of Jax, but he's not there. When I turn back toward the hall, a dripping wet and beautiful man is staring at me with a pale face and tears filling his eyes. What's wrong? He's shaking as the cool wind comes in from the open door, coating his body with a layer of goosebumps. The shock of my outburst doesn't calm him. I reach out and pull him into my arms, grateful my paranoia was unfounded. Oh, thank God. I nuzzle his neck, kissing his hair as I inhale deeply to calm my nerves. I thought something happened to you, baby. What happened to you? He asked, still shivering in my arms. Why are you home so early? I tried calling earlier and you didn't answer. Taking one more quick glance at his body and his myriad of scabs and scars, I guide him to the bathroom. I don't let go as I wrap a towel around his shoulders and will my heart to slow down. I didn't know if you were okay. A tear that had been bouncing on his eyelid falls. It's the perfect metaphor for where we are, just balancing on a tightrope of fear and happiness. I wipe it away with my thumb and kiss his cheek. Don't cry, sweetheart. I reach for another towel to dry his hair. I'm sorry I scared you when I came in. Shakes his head and buries it in his chest. You were really worried about me? He chokes on a sob as I tighten my arms around him and press him close to me, never wanting to let him go. Of course, I was worried about you. I lean down and kiss his mouth softly, biting his lips with mine until his breath hitches and his eyes shift from scared to lustful. We need to get you a phone today so I can always reach you and you can always reach me. He nods and leans in for a real kiss. He searches my mouth with his, sucking in my tongue while running his hands over my back muscles. His smooth fingers expertly knead some of the tension out, but it won't fully be gone until Toffer is out of the picture. And I was such a good boy today, he says with a half laugh, trying to lighten the moment. I pull back and look at his mouth. Well, the day's not over, little duck. I give him another quick kiss, then swat his bottom. Get dressed so you can go buy you a phone. The place I bought my phone is next door to Alan's ink parlor, so we stop by on our way out. He's finishing up a tramp stamp of a ferry when we walk in. Hey guys. He nods to us and gestures to the sofa in the waiting room. I'm almost done here, so hold tight. Yeah. I reach for Joey's hand and pull him to the couch. I feel the love of his soft hand in my large, calloused grip. The size difference between us is enough to give me a false sense of security that I can protect him from any villain, even one as powerful and far-reaching as Christopher DeMonico. I know it's stupid, but I let the happiness I feel with Joey take root in my soul. Mumford and Sons is playing in the background, and Joey quietly sings along to I Will Wait. His voice is sweet and enchanting. The music is low enough that I can really hear him, and I'm impressed. I don't realize I'm staring at his mouth until he looks back at me. What's with the grin? He turns back to the photo album of tats Alan leaves out for the client inspiration. I just like looking at you. I squeeze his elbow, then turn toward the book in his lap. Find anything in there you like? He quickly turns the page and scans it before flipping to the next. Nah, not really. I don't like needles. No? I tickle his side until he lets go of the album, then I grab it away from him. And what were you so interested in back there? Flip back 2 pages and find a drawing of a rubber ducky wearing a green Oregon Ducks t-shirt just like Joey's. When I look at him with a raised eyebrow, his face turns bright red. What? That's my school. I was just looking. I cup my palm to his pink cheek, then give him a kiss on the nose. I like it. It suits you. He just shrugs and flips the page again. Whatever. I'm never getting one anyway. He looks me dead in the eye. I really don't like needles. I raise my palms to him in submission. I believe you. No needles. We skim the page, then continue to flip through the book. But you were pretty interested in the one Al gave me the other day. He grunts and flips another page. That's because you're the one he was sticking it in. You won't catch me doing that voluntarily. Do I want to know what you're talking about? We both turn to see Alan standing above us, wiping his wet hands with a paper towel. You guys eat yet? I'm about to take lunch. I glance at my watch, surprised to see it's after 5. I'm starving. I turn to Joe and wait for his response. I was about to eat when you got home, so lunch sounds good. He puts the album back and stands up. When he stretches his arms above his head, a small strip of skin is visible above his waistband, and I desperately want to lick it, but I control the urge. He needs help with this situation, not for me to be perving on him every time he turns around. Yeah, why are you home early anyways? Alan asks me as we walk out the door. He locks up and we turn on the sidewalk. You'll work all day on Monday? I casually rest my arm on Joey's shoulder as we walk, hoping the contact will keep us both from freaking out. I do, but I had a little visit from the jerk and decided to close up early. Joey stops short and looks up at me with a ghostly pallor to his face. He went to your shop? His throat catches as he whispers the question he isn't ready to hear the answer to. With a quick squeeze to his shoulder, I nudge him forward. Yeah, just for a minute. Alan has a serious expression but doesn't speak, allowing me to share in my own time. We had some words, but he left before I could fully convey my distaste for him. Instinctively, I flex and stretch my right hand. Joey gasps and reaches up to turn my hand towards his face. Did you hit him? I don't even notice the cuts across my knuckles, probably from his teeth, until Joey mentions the mark. Not hard enough. He's lucky I was behind a wall of glass and wood. We stop at a taco truck and order without further discussion of the matter. It's not until we were seated at a park table that Alan finally speaks up. Seriously, Steve, shakes his head. What were you thinking? You can't go after him. He's dangerous. I shrug and glance at Joey. His head is downcast and his food is barely touched. He showed up at my window. I didn't go looking for him. What did he say? Joey asks in a bare audible voice. I take a deep breath, not sure what I want to say, although I'm sure it's nothing the jerk himself hasn't already told him. I told him I'd take care of the debt, but he doesn't want the money. He said, you're more valuable than cash. Joey curls in on himself with his arms around his stomach. He looks like he's ready to puke when I pull him to my side. It's okay, baby. He's not getting his hands on you. We'll figure this out. Alan raises an eyebrow at the endearment, but doesn't comment. He's one of my most trusted friends, so he knows how hard it is for me to open up to people. He also knows that if I'm opening up to Joey, there's more than just a passing interest involved. Joey doesn't even pretend to believe me. He just sits quietly with his tears soaking his shirt while he clutches it in both fists. Maybe I should just leave town. If he can't find me, he can't hurt me. He chokes out the words as a new rush of tears flood my shirt. Unacceptable. Joey's not leaving unless it's the last resort, and even then, he's not leaving alone. He did mention something about next of kin. I bent down to catch Joey's eyes. What would he mean by that? Your parents? I didn't think Joey could look any more deathly until realization dawns on him, and he chokes out the words that are probably the most shocking yet. He shakes his head slowly. Jimmy, my twin. What? How did he not mention a twin before? Now isn't the time, but this is yet another bullet on the list of things we need to chat about soon. Where is Jimmy? He lives in Phoenix with my dad. I kissed the top of Joey's head. We have a few days. Don't worry about Jimmy just yet. That jerk isn't going to touch a hair on either of you. Rubbing my hand down Joey's back to reassure us both, I looked to Alan. So what do you think? I can take care of the cash part, but if you won't accept it as payment, I may have to call in a few favors. Alan shakes his head. Dude, I probably shouldn't even be eating with you out in public. He laughs, but we both know there is truth to his words. Fortunate for you, I did hear something from my cousin Matty. Joey stiffens in his arms. You know Matty? Alan won't make eye contact with either of us as he picked at his taco. Yeah, kid. He clears his throat, but still doesn't look up. He told me he knew you. Knows him how? My voice is hard and my arm tightens around Joey, pulling him even tighter against me. Alan finally has the nerve to meet my gaze. Hey, you told me to ask around. Matty has some business dealings with Delmonico and mentioned he'd spent time with some of his. Well, you know. God, I don't want to hear this. No, I guess I don't. You want to share what you know? Alan looks to Joey for an explanation, but when none comes, he lets out a deep breath and begins. Matty said when Toffer gets high, he likes to share his boys. He's been with the private team a few times over the past few months. I wanted to punch a hole in the table, but Joey is curled practically into my lap, so I couldn't move. Did he hurt you? I whispered to Joey. Joey shakes his head against my chest. He was cool, never got rough or into the really weird stuff. Well, he's lucky for that. I've always liked Matty, but if I find out he was anything but cool to Joey, I'd be paying him a visit too. After taking a few cleansing breaths, I looked back to Alan. What else did he say? He said Demonico is branching out into fine art of all things. I almost choke on the water I just poured in my mouth. Art, you're joking, right? True. Joey finally lifts his head and straightens up beside me. He has a kid that can paint, like really paint. Is he putting his name on these or what? I don't get it. What the hell would an arcade mogul and psycho pimp want with art? Forgeries. Alan and Joey both spoke at the same time. With a smile to Joey, Alan continues. He asked Matty to drop hints to his higher net worth real estate clients about an art broker he knows. What kind of money are we talking about? These aren't Picassos or anything, right? Alan shakes his head and takes another bite. No one prominent, but still serious money. 6 figures for most of them. Well, that explains why he doesn't care about cash for paying for his loans. Nausea roils my stomach as I wonder if leaving town really is the only way to keep Joey safe. Unfortunately, I know there is a brother involved too. We're all quiet for a few minutes before Alan speaks up. The funny thing is, he takes a sip of his Coke and gives him a look like I'm going to like what he has to say. He told Matty not to let anyone know he's the art broker, especially anyone in his family. It takes me a minute to catch up to where Alan's head is already at. He's not sharing the pot with the family? Oh, this is good. I can work with this. Wonder what Uncle Sal would think about that. It's moments like this I miss smoking. A long drag would be the perfect way to celebrate as the pieces of this messed up puzzle fell into place. Sal DeMonico is a silent partner in the family business. He is also the owner of the bar I spent my years with the Brotherhood in. I haven't seen any of these guys from Choppers in almost a decade, but it's time to pay them a visit. Hold on, cowboy. Alan rests a hand on my wrist as if he's holding me in place. We have to be smart about this. If you don't do this right, Sal may be walking toward his own funeral, and Toffer will still be after your boy. Hearing him refer to Joey as my boy shoots a spike of adrenaline down my spine. It sounds good. I shouldn't be thinking about personal things with everything else going on, but with the early formation of a plan comes a sliver of hope for a future with my little duck. Chapter 11. Before we even got home, I'm on the phone to Spencer. He was the kind of money needed to pull off our best chance at keeping Joey safe. With less than 3 days to get everything in place, Spencer agrees to be on a plane Wednesday afternoon. Neither Joey nor I speak as we quickly walk from my truck to the front door. I feel paranoid glancing around the hedges and down the street, but even with the jerk out of town for a few days, I won't rest easily until he's no longer a threat. It's still early, but as soon as we're safely locked in the house, I grasp Joey's hand and drag him upstairs behind me. His breath hitches as he allows me to lead him into my bedroom. I glance at the swing in the corner, but quickly dismiss it. We're way, way off from that thing. Once we reach the bed, Joey jumps in my arms, wrapping his legs around my waist and grinding into my abs. Letting suck my tongue in and rolling it around in his mouth. I slowly sit on the side of the bed so he's straddling me. Joey's fingers comb through my hair as he nipped my lip with his teeth before softly biting a trail to my earlobe. Was I good today? My hands are at his hips and I want to dig into his flesh, but he's still too tender, so I lightly graze my fingertips under his shirt. He shudders as my fingers slip inside his jeans and tickle him. You've been a very good boy, little duck. I lift his shirt at the hem and pull it over his head, and you deserve a reward. His mouth is on my nipple, flicking the ring there with his tongue. I can feel him smile against my skin. Yeah? Oh, yeah. I want to give him so much more, but the wrong four-letter words keep flashing in my mind. Slow. Slow. Anything I want? He's kissing down my abs while undoing the button of my jeans. I still, before answering, allowing the zipper to release the bulging fabric underneath it. God, I want to say yes, but I can't, not yet. Didn't we agree on something in particular? Without looking up, he holds both sides of my jeans and I lift just enough for him to pull them out from underneath me. I guess I have to chuckle. He's such a kid sometimes. Joey, what did we agree to? He stills for a moment before lightly biting me through the cotton of my boxers. Lifting his head, those baby blues are finally revealed and he meets my stare. I would get to taste you. I rub my hand gently through his hair. Is that something you'd like to do? He smiles wide and nods with a bobblehead. Yes, please. Now I bust laughing. Come here, you goof. I pull him against my chest and hold him for a moment. Silliness isn't something I've ever done before. It's always been hot and wild or fast and practical, sometimes just dirty and dominating, never relaxed and silly. My partners were usually in it for the same carnal fulfillment that I was seeking, so we just took care of each other in other ways that we were always pleasant and satisfying. My baser need to dominate was often the focus of my casual encounters, and those guys just waited for instructions, then followed them to a T. They never made me laugh. With a wide grin on my face, I palm his cheeks and give him a sloppy kiss. You can do anything you want with your mouth, but other parts don't get to touch me at all tonight. Yeah, right. I didn't believe the words as they were coming out, but I figured it set the tone for a fun evening. Dragging my thumb across his lip, I look into his eyes. Deal? That's your deal? He shakes his head and laughs. You're lost, Ace. He gives me that evil smirk again, then lifts off my hips and flips around. I'm already regretting the stupid deal. What was I thinking? Oh, yeah, I was thinking should try to refrain from completely devouring this kid on his third night with me. Has it only been 3 nights? It feels like he's been in my life forever. I'm brought back to the moment as his mouth lowers onto my thigh and sucks hard. He's marking me, and that makes me feel amazing. I'm so screwed. Once he started, his mark will last a few days. He trails his tongue up. The sensitive skin is fully bare and his warm tongue tickles. I squirm under him with a broad smile on my face. Noticing my reaction, he drops his teeth to the skin and sucks deeply. He lifts his head so I can see his entire expression as his eyes roll back and he savors the moisture from me. It's decent. I don't know what to say. Then he winked. I'll need to try a bigger sample before I can tell for sure if it's better or worse than when we're together. I comb my fingers through his hair. You're going to earn yourself a spanking, young man. His eyes immediately shift from playful to excited. Yep, I'm screwed. Kisses me hard, dragging his tongue across the roof of my mouth and over my teeth before bringing his bare body back to its opposite of mine. Joey doesn't waste time teasing me. God, I'll never get tired of that. After almost breaking Caleb's teeth, I'm afraid to move at all. I use all my willpower to hold still while Joey explores with his mouth swirling and tugging the jewelry without letting it hit his teeth at all. You want me to take that out? I murmured. I'm almost hoping he says yes so I don't have to be so careful, but the weight of it feels so good. The vibrations in his throat resonated deep inside me. My body is begging for attention. I can't deny it any longer. Sliding one hand under his hip, I pull him to my face and bury my nose, inhaling his musky scent and wishing I could bottle it. Careful there, Ace. He pulls off just enough to speak, but continues moving his hand. We had a deal, remember? My tongue darts out and flattens against him. When his grip loosens and his breath hitches, I pull off. I haven't broken the deal yet, little duck. I kiss his silky skin, but I'm about to. He shudders against me. Is that something you do often? He murmurs as his hand resumes its steady rhythm. Only when I believe I have to, I thrust up, to keep you safe or satisfied. Okay. His mouth falls to me again, and all bets are off. I can't hold still. I move forward just an inch before remembering my jewelry and stop myself. Let me take that out, I gasp as he pulls back. I don't want to hurt you. He glances at me with a smile and slowly shakes his head. You won't. His teeth graze me, causing me to shiver under this touch. I know how to work around it. Do you now? I let my tongue slide over him. I'm not sure if I'm happy or sad about that. Be happy, Ace. His fingertip reached me as he licks, reaching the ring with his lips and tugging. It's so hot. You shouldn't ever take it out. Even his slender finger feels tight, amazingly tight. Joey sets a steady pace as I finally envelop him in the moist warmth of my mouth. I want to take my time and worship him, but we both need the tension release after the day we've had. Joey moves to the quick rhythm. He's close. I need it all. I don't have to wait more than a few seconds before he's done. I pull back but don't release the tension, only allowing enough space for me to breathe while still tasting his essence. I'm right behind him, enjoying the moment. God, he's beautiful. He's absolutely perfect with spit smeared on his chin. Looking like the best kind of angel you can imagine, Joey rests his head on me and looks up at me. I think you were wrong. I smirk and wag a drop of his chin. I doubt that. He quickly leans forward and sucks my finger clean. You taste better than anything I've ever put in my mouth. All by yourself. Get up here, baby. I wrap my palm around the nape of his neck and guide him to my mouth as he slinks up my body, realigning himself so we're hip to hip. I attack his mouth with mine while we explore each other. After a month of frustration over this gorgeous boy in my arms, I am finally sated and eager to learn every curve of his muscle, every freckle of his skin, every spot that makes him quiver. Chapter 12. Does anyone else know about your arrangement with Toffer? I asked, peeking over a cup of coffee on Tuesday morning. Joey shakes his head while chewing the eggs he just put in his mouth. His family doesn't approve of his private team. They felt we were more valuable up with the rest of the guys. He takes a drink of coffee and then puts down his fork. I don't think any of them would be anxious to get me back. So once the jerk is dealt with, you're home free? He shrugs. I guess. What does that mean? I reach across the table with my palm up, offering him physical assurance if he wants to take it. He grins when he looks at my hand and slowly places his slinky fingers between each of mine. I'm just not sure Topher will be as easy to deal with as you think. He looks away, unable to meet my gaze, but I don't miss the glistening in his eyes. My large hand closes around his. Hey. I wait until he looks at me, holding and the tears threatening to fall. Once I have his full attention, I pull his hand to my lips and place a gentle kiss on it. Have some faith, little duck. I'm pretty awesome when properly motivated. I've got this. I'm not much of a believer in God, but if there is one that could help me keep that promise, I'd give just about anything to make it happen. I call Alan after breakfast and we work out the details for Spencer's visit. As soon as I hang up, Joey has that terrified look in his eyes while he stares at the blank TV. I sit next to him on the couch and pull him into my lap. Talk to me. When did I become a 15-year-old girl? He feigns a half smile that quickly falls back into a frown. What do you want to talk about? Whatever's got that beautiful smile of yours all messed up. I kiss each corner of his lip. It's going the wrong way. I get a real smile before he kisses me back. How long are you going to be gone? Gone where? My hand rubs circles over his back as he melts into my chest. To work. Oh, we will only be gone for a few hours. We sits upright and looks at me. I'm going too? Of course, unless you'd rather hang out at the shop with Alan. He's short-handed right now and could probably use the help. Joey shakes his head. No, I'll go with you. I squeeze him to me and kiss the top of his head. Good, because I'd be a wreck the whole afternoon if I couldn't see for myself you were okay. What time are we leaving? Joey shifts his weight so he's straddling me. I glance at the wall clock. We've got a few hours before Rachel needs to head out. I can work with that. And work he did. We got to the Waffle House just after noon. There is a line to the corner as soon as I slip it in the door. Rachel nods towards the beeping irons. Can you grab those? I quickly wash my hands and slip into a pair of gloves. With the finished cakes out and plated, I began to refill the irons. Has it been like this all morning? Yep. There is a convention at the hotel across the street, so we've had a line 10 deep since I opened the window. While she's waiting for the credit card machine to authorize a transaction, she finally looks back at us. Oh, hey, Joey. Good to see you again. Hi. His bashful look is adorable. I'm sorry about the other day. She hands the receipt and plate to the customer, then steps away from the window. Can you take them? I nod and replace her at the window. I hear her washing her hands as she speaks softly to him. You have nothing to be sorry for. Was Steve able to help? You look good. I smile at her comment, even though the guy at the window has a list of food allergies that will probably cause him to drop dead after his first bite of my waffle. His loss. Thanks. I don't look back at Joey, knowing his pink cheeks would remind me of his other cheeks. I want to see pink. He's helped me a lot. I can't resist the quick glance back, looking right at me when I catch his gaze and smile. Then his smile drops, and then heartbreaking frown is back. But I'm a lot more trouble than I'm worth. I'm sure he'll regret his decisions before the week is over. What are you talking about, sweetie? She has that motherly way of keeping her tone sweet to him while lacing concern and accusations in it, directed at me. You know that's not true, kid. I turn back and wink, trying to keep the conversation light. We just have to get a few things sorted out, and then we'll see who regrets what. Rachel hands me 3 plain waffles and is at my side. Steve, what's going on? I know I can trust her, but the more she knows, the more risk she's in. On the other hand, she'll be spending time alone at the shop over the next few days, so if it's only fair, she's aware of the potential risks. I blow out a deep breath and begin a short version of his story. Joey's ex is Christopher DeMonico. You know him? Her jaw is answer enough. No kidding? She looks back at Joey, but his eyes are locked on the waffle Rachel handed him at some point. Well, he's got it in his brain that Joey is his indentured servant for the next few months. I hand change the couple in the window and take a step back. Is he in danger? Rachel whispers. Threats have been made. Joey looks up at the reminder, doesn't hold his gaze for more than a beat before he's studying his fork again. But Al and I are going to get him straightened out. Everything will be fine by Friday. She nods her head, genuine concern shining in her eyes as she watches Joey fidget. What happens on Friday? Don't worry about it. I pat her arm to get her to look at me. I'm only telling you this so you're aware of what's going on. Anyone is hanging around or seems sketchy, you call me or just call the police. She nods again. Where will you be? I'll be here, but if I can't and you can't, we'll just close up. What about Ty? He said he could come in whenever we needed an extra hand. Ty is a former employee and lover, a good guy that I messed up with in my standard MO. Now isn't the time to introduce him to Joey. Not this week. The fewer people involved, the better. I call a few names and pass out plates before looking back to Rachel, and that goes for you too. If you want to take the week off, paid, you can. We can just close up for a few days if we need to. No, no way. She hip checks me and takes over at the window. I'll be fine. I almost hope they do come snooping around. I'd love to get a piece of that dude. I chuckle and place a light kiss at the top of her head. The love she already feels for Joey is evident in her clenched fist. My heart swells knowing she has his back and mine if push comes to shove. Easy there, Mama Bear. Don't go looking for trouble. Just let me know if you see anything. Chapter 13. By the time 6 o'clock rolls around, Joe is at least as competent with the waffle iron as Rachel or myself, and he's generous with the toppings so customers love him. I'm surprised how much fun it is to work beside him. On the few occasions I worked with Ty, he was all over me. We became friends with benefits after being introduced by a mutual friend. He was looking for a job, so I broke the cardinal rule and hired him. It didn't take more than a few hours of him playing grab hands under the counter before I got sick of him. As soon as he realized I adjusted my schedule to avoid him, he quickly resigned and went to work at Starbucks. It's completely different with Joey. His focus on each task and able to handle several customers at once. I feel kind of bad letting him work when I really only brought him in to hang out. But once he relaxed, he has the energy of a 6-year-old. He's even humming as we clean up for the night and lock the door. I can see why you love it. Melts into my side, wrapping both his hands around my left bicep. That was awesome. Did I miss something? What are you talking about? I kiss his head, inhaling the sugary, sweet smell that has absorbed into his baby fine hair as we walk to my truck. Your shop. I can see why you opened it. He leans up and gives me a quick peck on my chin. You make people so happy. I laughed out loud. No one has ever said that to me before. It was kind of ridiculous, in fact. Well, he clutched my arm a little tighter. I can say from experience that it's true. Why that comment makes a knot form in my throat, I don't know, but I can't stop the warmth that spreads from deep in my belly and out in every direction. I want it to be true, little duck, I whisper, clearing the thickness in my throat. I really do. The rest of the walk is silent as we go to the truck and climb in. I need to visit a friend tonight, so I was thinking we could grab dinner, then maybe you'd want to hang out with Alan for a few hours. I can't go with you? His voice trembles as his eyes beg me not to leave him. I reach for his hand and bring it to my lips, holding it there while I back out of the lot. There is something I have to do on my own, and I feel better if you weren't alone. He turned towards the window and nods once. Okay, Joey. He doesn't respond at all. Reluctantly, I let go of his hand and grab the nape of his neck and give him a slight shake. Hey, look at me. He looks up, his eyes sparkling with tears that he hasn't let fall. Is it okay? He shrugs. I guess. I mean, I'll be fine at the house. I don't need a babysitter. I know you don't. And if you don't want to go, you don't have to. I smile as a reminder Al's reaction when I asked him to hang out with Joey. But Al's boyfriend is getting a little jealous about all the time he's spending on our little project. I think if he meets you in person, he'll back off for the next few days. Joey finally gives me a hint of a smile. Al has a boyfriend? Yeah, Phil. I didn't mean to spit his name, but I've never liked the guy. He's pretty uptight most of the time, but Al claims he's a good guy. I find him annoying. Why is he annoying? Mostly, I don't like him because he tried to pick me up when Al was in the bathroom on their second date. Alan's way too good for him. Then again, who was I to judge? It's not like I haven't done worse, much worse. Okay, I'll go. His smile is a complete 180 from where we just were. You sure? I pull into a diner that most tourists don't know about. That was easy. He reaches for the door handle but doesn't open it yet. Now I'm curious to meet the uptight guy who is sweet on my man. He hops out of the truck and shuts the door before I can process the words, his man. He thinks of me as his man? Why does that make my belly churn in a way I've never felt before? I slowly get out of the car and around to his side. Joey's leaning against the bumper while he's playing with a game he downloaded on his new phone. I don't know what to say, so I just comb my fingers through his silky hair above his ears, pull him into a deep toe curling kiss. My mouth dominates his as I claim him the way he's been claiming me since the moment we met, claiming my heart and my body in a way I desperately want to hold on to forever. The next 48 hours will define the rest of my life. When I finally pull away, we're both breathless. Maybe we can skip dinner. He pants and nips at my Adam's apple. Nope. I take a step back and hook his waist with my arms so he's walking with me toward the entrance. A man can't survive on sugar alone. He looks at me with a puzzled expression. Is that a pun? The fact that he's completely serious makes me bark out a laugh and ruffle his hair. Yes, little duck, that was a pun. After dinner, we drive straight to Alan's place. Even though they are expecting us, Phil shoots me a look of disdain and a barely cordial smile before holding open the door for us to walk through. Steve. He nods and waves his arm towards the family room. Al will be down in a minute. Phil, good to see you. I hold out my hand so he's forced to shake it or be a jerk. I'm almost surprised when he takes it. Since I shot him down that night in raids, he's never looked me in the eyes again. Apparently he doesn't like rejection well. This is Joey. Joey, this is Phil. It's nice to meet you, Phil. Joey offers a sweet smile along with his hand. Thanks for letting me hang out for a while. Good to meet you, Joey. Phil pats his shoulder and directs him to the couch, completely ignoring me. You're welcome here anytime. I don't miss the glare he gives me, making sure I know the invitation doesn't include a +1. Whatever. As long as he keeps his creepy paws above the belt, he can do his worst to win over Joey. The kid has better judgment than to fall for the fake kindness of someone like Phil, if only Al had such judgment. Hey guys, Alan walks out with a towel around his neck and a pair of sweats hanging from his hips. Sorry, I thought I'd be out before you got here. He drapes the towel over the back of his chair, then slides into a t-shirt. No problem. I look to Joey. You sure you'll be okay for a few hours? He gives me a devious smirk. I'm fine. I can entertain myself. Nonsense. Phil reaches forward and squeezes his knee. We'll make sure he isn't bored. Take your time. Perv. It's my turn to glare before looking to Alan with a raised brow, daring him to ignore the comment. Alan rolls his eyes. Babe, be nice. You don't want to creep out the poor boy. He laughs and pecks Phil on the cheek. I don't know why you like to make Steve think you're a total creeper. Because he is. I mumbled just under my breath before walking toward the front door. Call me if you need anything. Sitting in the parking lot of Choppers brings back a flood of memories. I had a lot of good times here, but they're all overshadowed by losing Ricky. I never thought I'd truly get over him, but it's in that moment I realized I hadn't thought of Ricky much since Joey came into my life. I should probably feel guilty about that. I've spent so many years choosing to hold on to that pain, and that only brought on more pain. It's time to choose differently. I get out of the truck and walk right inside as if my whole world doesn't depend on how this meeting goes. Everyone looks up, but only a few people recognize me. I've changed a lot since I was the scrawny 16-year-old they took turns with. Not only have I gained 100 pounds of muscle, they haven't seen me since my late growth spurt when I went from 6 feet to 6'3" over the course of summer. Turns out the California sunshine does make things grow bigger. I head to the bar and see a friendly face. The bartender does a double take when I sit down on the stool in front of him. His mouth drops as he looks me over. Little Stevie, is that you? I smiled at the nickname I'd completely forgotten about. There was already a Stevie when I came along, so I was dubbed Little Stevie. Hey, Bobby, long time no see. He shakes his head as he wipes his hands on the towel. It's been what, 10 years? I nod slowly. Just about. It's hard to be in here again, but I don't have time to reminisce, and truly, I don't want to. That part of my life was over, and I needed to focus on securing the next stage of my life. Still drinking Coors? He pulls a long neck out of the ice tub and holds it toward me. Not too often, but that looks good. I take a quick glance around the room and don't see Sal anywhere. Is the boss here tonight? Bob freezes. Suddenly, suspicion. No one has business with the boss. The boss has business with you. You looking for Sal? I cleared my throat, surprised at how nervous I am about this conversation. Everything is riding on my ability to make Sal believe that I'm on his side and not setting him up. Since I haven't shown my face in almost a decade, I don't have a lot of credibility to draw from. That leaves me with my natural charm and witty personality. In other words, I am totally screwed. Yeah, I need to talk to him about something pretty important. You in trouble? Bobby is a good judge of character, can tell when somebody's lying to him. Not me, but I have some information about his nephew that he might be interested in. I lock my eyes on Bobby's, trying to convey the seriousness without sounding like I'm making a threat against Sal. Is that right? Bobby takes a look around the room, signaling to a few of Sal's closer associates that they should move in. Seems there are some extracurricular business dealings going on that are being kept under the radar. Some big numbers involved. My muscles tense as the stools on either side of me are suddenly filled. Bikers that don't know me from Adam form a loose wall around me. You guys took care of me when I needed a family, so I figured I'd return a favor. If you don't think he wants to talk, I understand. I raise the bottle to my lips and take a deep pull, hoping it'll calm my nerves without affecting my reflexes. If things get physical, I'll be no good to Joe if I get beat to a bloody pulp, then left for dead in the woods. Bobby watches me for a moment, then nods to one of the guys behind me. I don't bother to look back. I know soon enough whether Sal wants to see me or if I have to resort to plan B. When Bobby looks up and everyone disperses around me, I let out a deep exhale. This is a good sign. The boss will see you. I finish the beer in one swig, then head towards Sal's office, hoping he has even more at stake than I do. By the time I get back to Alan's place, it's after 10. Joey's wearing a headset and playing some video games with Phil when I let myself in. Alan was reading a magazine on the other side of the room. No one even gets up when I enter the room. After standing there for a full minute, I clear my throat and Al looks up. Hey man, you're back early. Am I? It doesn't feel like it. I rubbed the back of my neck, wishing some of the tension could be erased with the palm of my hand. How'd it go? He was speaking quietly as he walks me toward the dining room. Is he in? I close my eyes and let my chin drop to my clavicle. I think so. What does that mean? Alan sits at the table and pulls out the chair next to him. Tell me exactly what happened. He said he'd heard rumors something was going on with the nephew, but didn't know what. He wants to shut it down, so I think we're good. We just have to make sure Toffer is where we need him to be when we need him to be there. I look up at Alan. He's the best friend I've had in a long time, and I need him to know how important this is to me. I can't screw this up too, Al. I know, man. He pulls out his phone and sends a quick text to someone. A minute later, he receives a reply text. Maddie says we're good. He's got the location secured and a call into Demonico about the buyer. It'll work. I nod, but I know it doesn't make it any more or less likely to be true. Chapter 14. Rachel and I decide to keep our regular schedules on Wednesday, so there isn't any reason for someone to suspect anything is brewing. I know we're all being watched, but since no one has made a move yet, Joey and I walk into the shop at noon and we're ready to work. He jumps right into fulfilling orders while I sign some checks Rachel has prepared. It's almost 5 before I get the text from Spencer that he's on his way downtown to meet with Maddie and Toffer's assistant. The showing of a multi-million-dollar penthouse took some favors on Maddie's end, but the owner has been traveling and trusts Maddie to keep things professional. I feel sick to my stomach by the time we lock up and head home. Every minute that passes puts me closer to success or failure. Sensing my stress, Joey just holds my hand and lets me brood quietly while we drive the short distance to my house. I'm tempted to keep driving until we reach the Atlantic, but I know we can't hide from this. Just one more day and it'll all be over, for better or worse. The clock is ticking. After a quick dinner of pasta and steamy veggies, Joe and I head to bed. I'm just lying down when Spencer calls from his hotel. It's a go. Thank God. It feels like one of the chains restricting my chest have been removed and I can breathe a tiny bit easier. It's not actual relief, but it's close. Tell me what happened. All you need to know is I'm meeting with the seller tomorrow. I've asked him to bring up to 6 pieces so I can see how they look in the apartment I'm about to buy. What time are you meeting? I figured the earlier the better, so I said 4. Spencer pauses for a moment, then continues, I can see why you're worried. What's that? What could he have learned from the assistant that would have given anything away about my situation? Dylan, the assistant, practically crapped himself when I said I needed 6 pieces in 24 hours. Why? Doesn't look like he's too happy with his employment situation either. When he called his boss, he was white as a ghost. Interesting. Maybe we would be saving more than Joey if all went well. But everything is good? No one is suspicious? Even one person learns we're setting up Demonico for a fall will be dead by morning. Loyalty runs deep in the Demonico roots, which is what I'm counting on to get the bad sheep out of the picture. Not at all. Go celebrate, dude. I can hear the amusement in your voice as he speaks. I'll be here practicing my acting skills to take down that jerk. Thanks, Spence. I don't know what I would have done if you weren't able to help. Don't worry, man, he laughs darkly. It's not like I've got anyone waiting for me at home. I might as well help a brother out when I can. I appreciated his humor, but it doesn't release the ache in my throat. You know it's more than that. Yeah, man. Spencer clears his throat after a 5-second pause. I know. When I hang up, Joey quickly climbs on top of me, fully pressing against the length of my body as if he's trying to fuse with it. If only. We don't get silly or rough or wild. We spend the next 2 hours just kissing and touching and licking. We don't even finish. That's not what we need. We just need to be together and memorize each other in anticipation of the chaos awaiting. Rachel calls early Thursday to let me know she'll work the entire day so I don't have to go in at all. I'm relieved and nervous at the same time. The distraction of going to the shop would help the hours pass faster, but every hour that passes could be one of my last with Joey for a long time to come, maybe even forever. That outcome isn't a possibility for me. I have to stay positive so I don't go insane. After breakfast and a workout, I suggest a drive out to Multnomah Falls. It's been ages since I've gone out there, and I just want focused alone time with Joey. I want to learn everything about him while I still can, and to tell him how special he's become to me in just the few days since he fell into my life. We pack up some sandwiches and water bottles and head out to see one of the tallest waterfalls in the country. The drive is quiet as we're both contemplating what the rest of the day will bring. The 30-minute drive seems to pass in just moments. There are so many things to say, but every word that forms in my mind sounds either like a declaration of love or a permanent goodbye. I'm certainly not ready to say goodbye, but I'm not quite ready to make any grand statements either. My feelings for Joey run deep, but is it love? Real? True? Do anything to protect it, love? My racing heart and perma-grin make me think it is. During the few times in my life when I was in love, first with Ricky, then with Zach, I was a broken boy. I quickly fell into their webs because they want to take care of me, fix me. Am I still that broken kid looking for someone to love? Sometimes it feels like it, but this time is different. It isn't just that Joey is broken and I'm in a position to help him. It's more of an overall happiness I feel with him. I was sad and lonely when Ricky died, but it didn't destroy me. And when Zach and I broke up, it was the practical decision, so I didn't let it tear me apart either. We made the mutual decision to part ways, and I was okay with that. Lonely again, but I was okay. Thinking about my life without Joey makes my stomach knot and my heart feel like it's wrapped in a vice. I can't imagine it. I wouldn't survive. Is that the difference between loving a friend and loving a soulmate? We pull into the visitor lot and silently grab our backpacks. As soon as he's by my side, I clasp Joey's hand and seal my palm around it. I absently glance at my watch. It's almost noon. For more hours before Joey's fate is sealed and mine, I was thinking we could eat after we get to the bridge. I need to be there. Joey stops walking, halting my next step. At the bridge? Not too far. Benson Bridge is one of the best places to really take in the beauty of the falls. No, at the penthouse today. He looks at me with an expression that leaves no room for argument. I have to be there when it all goes down. I take a deep breath and let it out slowly, counting to 5 to keep the edge out of my voice. Absolutely not. Before he can begin his own response, I kiss him hard on the mouth, pressing my lips against his as much to shut him up as to taste the sweet essence. There's nothing for you to do there but get hurt. Truthfully, I wanted to be there too, but I can't risk leaving Joey alone. We were coming up on the jerk's deadline and could have someone waiting to grab up my little duck as soon as my back was turned. That's why my back won't be turned until Delmonico is out of the picture. I have to be there. I need to see for myself that he's taken care of if I'm ever going to feel safe again. He starts walking again. Please, Steve, I need this. I can't deny the desperation in his voice, letting out a deep breath. I acquiesce. I'll talk to Alan. The views are breathtaking, and as we stand in the center of the bridge and admire the tremendous force of nature in front of us, I begin to let the inklings of hope seep into my soul. Despite so many ways for our little mission to fail, I chose to believe we're gonna pull this off. Chapter 15. At 3 o'clock, Joey and I enter the downtown high-rise through a service door and walk straight to the elevator. I can't risk Delmonico or his guys seeing us anywhere near the building, so we decided to arrive early. I'd spoken to Bobby and Spencer, and everyone knows where they need to be. Now we just have to wait to see if everyone performs as promised. Having my fate rest in the hands of so many other people makes my stomach churn, but this operation is beyond just me or Joey. This is bigger than a few rent boys in an arcade. Telfer is bringing in a few $1,000,000 worth of forged art to this penthouse in less than an hour, and if all goes well, he won't be leaving in one piece. That's if all goes well. If all goes horribly wrong, I could be leading Joey to the slaughter, or worse, unmanageable torture for the foreseeable future. I wouldn't allow either. Maddie had come through big time. The owner of the apartment is a professional snowboarder and has a room full of sports equipment, including boxes of GoPro cameras. Maddie and Alan spent hours setting up the cameras in discrete locations throughout the house. The live feeds will stream to monitors in a conference room on the first floor. That's where Uncle Sal will be watching, assuming he gets to the building in time to walk in undetected. When Maddie opens the front door, Joey freezes like a bunny under the fangs of a wolf. Hey, Joey. Maddie holds out his hand and speaks softly. It's great to see you. Joey pulls slightly away from my side, squaring up his shoulders as he takes Maddie's hand. Hi, Matt. Matt smiles and tugs him to his chest. You look good, kid. His eyes met mine over the top of Joey's head. Happy. I nod and remember why I always liked Matty. He's the kind of guy who notices when you're happy or sad. His compassion is what's spurring him to risk his life and his livelihood to help a friend. How he got mixed up in business with Delmonico is a mystery to me. Joey looks at me with a sweet grin. I am, thanks. Stepping back, he fits himself into the groove in the side of my body that seems to be made especially for him. My hand instinctively squeezes his hip as I hold on to him, relishing his clean scent as it fills my nostrils. I can't lose this. Maddie, it's been a long time. I hold my hand out, but Maddie ignores it and pulls me into a half hug on my open side. Too long. He pats my back twice, then cups the back of my neck. Al's been telling me about your hijinks, but I have to say, plotting to take down the biggest crime lord in the state is impressive. Matty chuckles lightly as he guided us in. I like to keep things interesting. I wink at Joey's shocked expression and give him a kiss on the forehead. Where is that cousin of yours? Doing all the actual work around here. Al walks in behind us with the electrical tape hanging from the carabiner on his belt loop and a fistful of cable. He nods towards the hallway. Let me show you guys where we'll be. Joey and I follow Alan down a short hallway until we come into a staircase. I start to take a step, but Al stops me with a hand to my shoulder. He pushes against a painting at the end of the hall, and a panel pops out, revealing a hidden room. We'll be in the spy rooms. Curiously, Joey ducks through the wall opening and flips the light switch before I could take a step. The light is dim and tinted blue. This is sick. I step in behind him and look around. We're in a small room which branches out in a maze of hallways. I wave toward the hall in my right. Where do these lead? All the public rooms. Alan quietly closes the door behind us and starts walking. Joe and I follow close behind. The halls aren't lit at all, but the wide windows provide light from the interior room. We stop in a window that looks into the den. This is where Spencer is going to ask to see the work. We should be able to see everything if they stay in here. The bottom of the window is about 5.5 feet from the ground. 5 feet 11, Joey can see over the edge, but just barely. Is this a mirror or something? Joey asks as he scans the room. Yeah, they're actually about 7 feet from the ground inside, so no one would think to look through it unless they had reason to be suspicious. I nod, impressed with the location Maddie was able to secure for this. I owe him big time. Why does this guy have these in the house? Is he uber paranoid or something? Probably. Alan chuckles. Actually, Maddie says he's just the super rich playboy type. He has lots of model friends over for orgies or something like that. Probably likes to sit in here. I step back from the wall, suddenly afraid of what might be dried on it. Classy. My watch says 3:20, and I turn to Alan. Do you know if Sal is here yet? He shakes his head. Phil is waiting in the conference room to intercept him when he arrives. He'll text when they're in the place. Phil's here? I asked, surprised he'd be willing to leave his office early to help out. See, I told you he's a good guy. Alan smirks. He's been waiting for a moment like this for a long time. He wanted to help so he could call in sick. He's been here all day. I'm touched that he'd be willing to sacrifice his time for Joey, and more shockingly for me. Clear my throat and try to sound sincere. I guess I owe him an apology. Maybe I've been wrong about him. Alan nudges me on the shoulder, then looks to Joey and laughs. Nah, you're right about him. I think he wants a piece of your voice. What? Joey and I speak at the same time, not sure if he's joking or not. Alan shrugs. It's how he is. I love him and all, but he definitely has a wandering eye. I raised an eyebrow, watching Alan's face for a true feeling about it. And that's okay with you? Not really. But I'm not marrying the guy or anything. He looks into the empty room through the one-way glass. Maybe he'll change. I shake my head, but don't share my unsolicited opinion. I've learned the hard way that people don't change for other people. I just hope Alan accepts that sooner rather than later so we can find him a real man. Just as I check the time again, my phone beeped loudly. Ringer's off, guys. Fumbling to silence it, I answer when I see Spencer's name. Everything good on your end? He asked. We're here. Sal should be on his way, and I guess we'll see you in about half an hour. Please let everything go as planned. I'm just walking into the bank to get cash, but I'm close, so I'll be there in time. Thanks, man. Be safe with all that cash on your arm when you're coming here. Spencer is tall and slender with tight muscles, so he comes across as an easy target. His glasses and Charlie Brown haircut gave him a computer geek vibe, but his square jaw and turquoise eyes always make me think of Clark Kent and Superman. Right now, he's definitely my Superman, but he's not the fighting type, so I just hope no one messes with him before he's safely in the penthouse. Don't worry about me, he laughs, whispering in the phone. I feel kind of badass, like Neil Caffrey saying, saving the day. Neil who? God, I feel old. I need to get better about keeping up with pop culture. From White Collar. Gotta watch it. The wind noise in the phone dies down when Spence is whispering. I'm inside. Gotta go. Okay, later, man. Maddie just texted that Toffer's assistant is here, Alan says. Dylan is here? Joey's chewing the corner of his mouth. Is he going to stay the whole time? Rubbing my thumb across his full lip to release it from the grip of his teeth, I ask, What's wrong, little duck? Do you not want Dylan here? He shakes his head, true fury marring his angelic face. I just don't want him to get hurt. He covered for us when Toffer was too jacked to think straight. I pull him into my side and hold him. I'm sure he'll be okay. Joey doesn't respond to me. He just pulls away with a worried expression. Not sure how much help it'll do. I pull out my phone. I'll text Bobby to let him know Dylan's a friendly, but I can't make any promises. Sal isn't exactly forgiving when it comes to disloyalty in the family. Joey's face turns to an unhealthy shade of green as he wraps his arms around his waist and turns back to the window. I put my hand around the back of his, holding him firmly while hoping Sal is willing to show leniency. On the other side of the window, Dylan walks in with a large crate on a hand truck. He's bigger than I expected, not in height, but in mass. He can't be taller than 5'10", but he's as wide as I am, with broad shoulders and arms he spent a lot of time developing. He must be as much bodyguard as Topher as he is assistant. His threatening appearance isn't going to help my case to Bobby that he should be spared. Maddie and Dylan begin to uncrate the canvases. Each is draped in a creamy-colored fabric. They line one wall of the room with the covered art, and the tense wait for the main event begins. At 4 o'clock on the dot, the elevator chimes and the doorbell quickly follows. We wait in silence for about a minute before Maddie and Spencer came into view. They're talking about the apartment as if Spencer is a real buyer. Spencer greets Dylan with a quick hello and a handshake. The leather briefcase Spencer is carrying looks like a standard computer bag. He casually drops the bag on a low coffee table as if it doesn't have hundreds of thousands in bills inside of it. Maddie keeps up the charade under Dylan's watchful eye, chatting with Spencer about the view of the city and school district. Surprising even me, Spencer clears his throat and glances at Dylan when he says, "I probably won't be needing a school district anytime soon." He coughs and almost stutters, "I'm single." I almost laugh out loud at his pathetic attempt to play it cool with Dylan. I've never seen Spencer flirt, and I can see why. Dude's no gang. Maddie's eyes dart between Spencer and Dylan as the strange comment begins to make sense. He does an adorable job at keeping a straight face as he plays along. Well, you never know. I'm sure the women are lined up for an eligible bachelor like you. Flirting his eyes to Dylan once again, Spencer turns pink as he realizes Dylan is studying him. I wouldn't know. I'm not interested in women. Now I have to laugh. I'm quiet, but I can't help it. I can't wait to give Spencer crap about this when we're done. I really hope Bobby is about to convey the importance of Dylan getting out of this unharmed. Not only would it hurt Joey, but Spencer has obviously developed an interest in this sexy meathead. I can only hope Sal is watching his development and his romantic side will guide him when things get ugly. My moment of amusement is short-lived as the elevator beeps again and the doorbell rings, announcing our final guest. Maddie leaves Spencer alone with Dylan as he walks out to get the door. He walks in a moment later with the jerk at his side, dressed in a midnight black suit that's tailored to fit him like a glove. He looks like he's on his way to a funeral. I hope he is, his own. Maddie introduces Spencer as an internet entrepreneur from the Silicon Valley. It's true, but it's also obvious that Maddie is trying to impress Dylan without giving away too many of Spencer's identifying details. It's cute. I had no idea Maddie liked playing stupid so much. He needs to work on that with Al. The discretion is admirable, but if Delmonico walks out of here lucid enough to remember Spencer's name, his company won't be the only thing at risk of being destroyed. After a few moments of idle chat, Spencer gets right to it. "I appreciate you getting these pieces together for me on such short notice." He's looking at Delmonico while subtly sizing him up. They're evenly matched size-wise, but Delmonico has probably killed men with his bare hands. Spencer doesn't even kill spiders. My pulse races as I watch for any sign of suspicion from either Dylan or Delmonico. Delmonico smiles and nods. "Of course, I'm happy we were able to accommodate the request." He put his hand on Dylan's shoulder and squeezed it. Dylan was eager to make this happen. He steps away and is directly in front of Spencer again. I can see why. He eyes Spencer as he puts both hands in his pockets, deliberately forcing everyone in the room and watching behind it to notice the bulge in his trousers. Douche. "I hope you're not going to keep me in suspense much longer." Spencer slips away from Delmonico and steps up to the first canvas. "Not at all." Toffer nods to Dylan. "You heard the man, Dylan. Let's show him what he wants to see." Dylan nods and gently removes the drape. Since you said you were looking for conventional pieces that would fit well with your modern style, I selected a few of my favorite," he went on to say. Dylan smiled at Spencer, then glanced at his boss. The jerk did not miss the look. "That's right. This piece is a Lishan that I find particularly interesting. It's untitled, but consistent with his style of mocking political figures, in this case the tiger's cubs, with such randomness as the teal fish." Spencer squats on his heels and takes a closer look. "I love it." He laughs and looks up at Delmonico. "I don't understand all that symbolism, but I love the colors." Excellent. Monica nods to Dylan to confirm his choice was a good one. Dylan, please reveal your next selection. Spencer stands up and steps back to give Dylan room. So how do you come to acquire such an interesting piece? Monica smiles. I'm a purveyor of beautiful things. When I first started collecting art, it was just for my personal enjoyment. He leans into Spencer's shoulders and stage whispers, but I like to share my favorite toys. He looks at Maddie and winks. Right, Matthew? Maddie has the decency to look down without responding, obviously not wanting to remind anyone in the room that he spent time with the jerk private boys and Joey. I want to hate him for that, but he was good to Joey, and he's doing right by him now. That's all I needed to focus on. Well, I'm glad you're willing to share these toys. Spencer kneels down again. This one looks interesting. Dylan begins to explain the curtain that he's just unveiled. Spencer asks the right questions and plays his part perfectly. By the time the last painting is explained, Demonico looks like he's ready to cream his. I brought a small deposit for these pieces, but I can bring a cashier's check to your office tomorrow. Spencer reaches for his briefcase and opens it up. Will 200 suffice? Demonico sidles up to him. Of course. He wraps his hand around Spencer's as he reaches for the briefcase. I know you're good for it, Dylan. Spencer is actually speaking to Dylan, and all the eyes are on the interaction. If you can give me directions to the office, I'll swing by tomorrow. DeMonico raises his hand to stop Dylan from responding. Nonsense. We'll meet at my favorite restaurant for drinks. House 7. That works. With the cash handoff complete, I can relax a bit. I pull Joey's head to me and give him a quick peck on his temple. Now we just sit back and let Sal take it from here. It's always a pleasure, my friend. DeMonico walked to Matty and gives him a hug. That's when everything goes to hell. DeMonico slips his hand inside Matty's jacket and stills. You're packing, Matthew. Spencer stops short halfway toward the door. He looks up to Dylan. The realization of what's happening starts to dawn on Dylan. I can almost see the pieces of the past 24 hours falling into place. He doesn't know what's up, but he knows something is. His face is pale as he turns towards his boss. You didn't bring this to use against me, right? The gun is in Delmonico's hand now, and he's inspecting it while keeping it trained on Matty. No, man. Matty stutters as a sheen of sweat glazes front. I always carry when I'm working with cash. I don't think you do. Toffer pats him down as if looking for a wire. I've undressed you often enough to know you've never carried. You're always working in cash. He looks at Dylan. Do you know about this? Dylan shakes his head but makes the mistake of looking at Spencer with a concerned expression. No, boss. I don't know what's going on. I have to give it to Delmonico. He's not as dumb as he looks. He sees the look Spencer and Matty give each other. These bills are marked. The gun is pointed at Spencer. Spencer doesn't even respond. He looks into the barrel of the gun as DeMonico pulls the trigger. In just a split second before Dylan steps in front of him, shielding my friend with his own body. Joey gasps loudly, but not loud enough to be heard over the chaos below us. Alan's phone lights up as it rings silently. He's mumbling into it while I watch Dylan fall against Spencer, and they both land in a bloody heap on the floor. DeMonico rounds on Manny and presses a barrel to the center of his forehead. Alan is saying a silent prayer when DeMonico pulls the trigger a second time. Only this time, nothing happens. Matty heaves a big breath and sob. Altofer pulls back and looks at the pistol. What happened? Matty gives him a half smile, though tears are streaming down his cheeks. Only put in one bullet, he shrugs. I knew I wouldn't get a second chance, so I had to make one bullet count. Lucky for you, DeMonico reaches into the back of his waistband and pulls out his own small handgun. I always come prepared. Just then, Sal and his crew waltzed into the room. They're completely calm and collected as if they aren't about to take down one of their own. DeMonico lets his right arm fall to his side, taking the weapon with it. Uncle Sal? He looks around the room, confused about what's happening. What are you doing here? Sal nods towards a big guy with a shaved head and a 6-inch beard. The beast steps towards Topher and holds his hand out for the gun. DeMonico hands it over immediately. I don't understand. I didn't want to believe it, son. Sal walks to his nephew and puts his arm around his shoulder. I didn't believe it when I heard you had a side business you were keeping from the family. No, Uncle Sal, it's not like that. I almost felt sorry for the jerk. He looked like a scared kitten. He knows what happens to thieves, and the sentence isn't lighter for blood. I was going to bring you in, I swear. Sal keeps walking with his crew, surrounding them as they head toward the front elevator. I like to believe that's true, Sonny. I just can't. As soon as they were out of the room, I dialed 911. Dylan is conscious, and the blood pouring from his shoulder isn't as heavy as I would have expected for a lethal injury, so I just pray the paramedics could get here in time to keep him conscious. Spencer is still holding him and quietly asking him questions to keep him talking. Once the elevator doors shut with the Demonico crew inside, Joey and I follow Alan out of the observation halls and into the room. Alan throws himself at Maddie, wrapping his cousin in his arms. Man, you scared the crap out of me. Maddie holds him tightly. I'm pretty sure I scared the crap out of myself, too. Joey takes tentative steps toward Dylan. His grief is more than that of fear for a friend. He looks guilty, like it's his fault Dylan was shot. When he finally steps into Dylan's line of sight, the tears he'd been holding back burst free. Oh God, Dylan, I'm so sorry. Joey? Dylan shakes his head like he's seeing a ghost. Is that you? Joey steps forward and reaches for Dylan's good hand. It's me. He chokes out another sob. And he's gone, Dylan. Topher is gone. Dylan shakes his head. I don't understand. What are you talking about? The elevator rings again and Phil walks in a moment later with 3 paramedics behind him. The paramedics quickly assess Dylan and confirm its superficial wound. When questioned about what happened, I step forward. I did it. It was an accident. All eyes are on me as I reach for an empty gun and rub my fingers all over it. My friend was showing it to me. I didn't realize it had a round in the chamber. I accidentally pulled the trigger as Dylan was passing by. Everyone confirms my version of the story, and since there isn't any reason to question it, Spencer, Joey, and I released to follow Joey to the hospital. Alan and Phil stay behind to clean up the apartment. Amazingly, there isn't any damage other than a blood-stained throw rug, which I promised to replace immediately. Chapter 16. By the time the police are done with their questioning and I'm allowed to leave the hospital, Joey is like the walking dead. The anxiety of waiting for everything to happen, then the fear of watching Dylan get shot was bad enough. But the added hours of wondering if I'd be arrested for attempted murder or forging art of any of the other crimes we committed this afternoon was too much for him. It's after midnight when we climb into the back of a cab and head home. I pull Joey into my lap, holding him against me while I check my phone. I turned it off when the police first started asking me questions, but now I need to know what's happening with everyone else. Alan sent one text. Phil says thanks for the paintings. He's going to enjoy looking at them while he does me. Idiot. Patty sent 2 texts. Spencer said Dylan is being released tonight. What about you? The next text was sent an hour later. Seriously, should we bring bail money? I quickly respond, on my way home. We'll talk tomorrow. I want to write a more heartful message, but anything else could end up as evidence at some point, so I kept it light. Then I see the text I've been waiting for all week. Bobby sent it around 9:30. All debts are cleared. Take care of yourself and your boy. Joey was asleep in my arms as the tears I'd been holding back finally fall. It's over. His nightmare was ended, and maybe we can begin to live our dream together. The cab driver clears his throat, and I realize we've stopped in front of my house. Without moving Joey from my lap, I lift from my seat and pull my wallet from my pocket. When I open the door, Joey wakes up and climbs down. He leans heavily on me as we walk in the front door and straight up to the bedroom. For the second night in a row, we don't get physical. We just fall in bed and hold each other until the warmth of morning shines in and wakes us up. Is it over? Joey's voice was quiet, but even as the first words of the morning leaves his lips, my body is curled possessively around him. It's over. He locks his fingers between mine and rubs a circle on my wrist with his thumb. How do you know for sure? I got confirmation last night. You are a free man. I gave him a squeeze. You can go anywhere, do anything. You don't owe me anything. It's your choice. You can choose anything. I don't let the fear that he'll leave me crack my voice. He truly is free, and if he wants to leave the area or just leave me, I'll support him in every way. I can do anything? He rolls over and still locked in my arm. He got a devil smile on his face that makes me even more happy to be awake. I have to grin at his expression. Yes, anything. Does that mean? He tilts his head up and softly bites my scruffy chin, pulling back slowly so we can hear the scratching sounds. You'll do anything I ask? My mind immediately goes to the swing. As hot as that thought is, I don't want our first time to be in a swing. Maybe. I take his lower lip in my mouth, sucking and licking it before dragging my tongue across his teeth and releasing. It depends on what you ask for. Joey moves, so he's straddling me. What if I asked you to... He rocks his hips forward and back across me as he tugs one of my nipple rings with his teeth. Make love to me. The hips lift off the bed and press against him. Now that, little duck, would be my pleasure. It's been months since I've done anything and years since I've done anything even resembling making love. But every move with Joey feels natural, like something I've been doing my whole life and should continue to do forever. running my fingers through his hair. Our mouths come together in an intimate dance. My tongue sweeps over and under his, swirling into his mouth as I suck gently, then allow him to do the same to me. Joey's hands explore me until I am panting into his mouth. When he finally releases the rock-hard buds, when one hand slides over my hip and one to cup my cheek, his other hand blays across my abs and draws a zigzag path across my taut muscles before moving south. Standing up, he undresses us both, and I let myself admire him as he does the same to me. You're so hot. He walks to the nightstand and pulls out the supplies we need. Not needing a third invitation, I sit up and grab him by the waist, then lay him on the bed in the exact spot I was just in, then stop talking so I can do it. He smirks. Well, if my mouth was busy, it would be a lot easier to keep quiet. I lean forward and slowly kiss him again, pouring all the emotion from the past week into those soft movements. Lets out a soft groan. More. My tongue outlines the curve of his ear, then back down. Is this okay? I whisper in his ear. He shudders. Yes, God, baby. Patience, little duck. We have all day. Still nipping at his ear, I whisper, do you want to take out the ring? He opens his eyes and looks straight at me. No, leave it in. I want to laugh, but I don't. I also want to cry, but I don't do that either. Instead, I prepare myself for the moment we're both desperate for. I haven't done anything yet, but I'm ready to. My hands are planted on both sides of his bicep, locking him in place while I stare him down. Joey's hands caress my chest and abs as he looks up. His crystal blue eyes shine with what I imagine he sees in mine, love. It's fast and probably stupid and maybe not what any relationship therapist would advise, but I know I love Joey. And if the way he's staring right into me is any indication, I know he loves me too. When we're done, Joey curls perfectly against me, resting his face against his neck and tickling me with every breath he takes. Have you made your decision, little duck? He's awake, but still in a blissful headspace. About what? About what you're gonna do. What do you choose? You. He tilts his head back and waits for me to kiss him. If you choose me, I'll choose you every time. My heart is ready to burst with the happiness that fills it. I kiss his drowsy eyes, then his nose, then his chin. Finally, I kiss his mouth. Of all the messed up choices I've made in my life, I know this is exactly right. I choose you too, little duck. I choose happy. Chapter 7. Whew, that was hot. It's only been 6 months since Joey showed up, battered and bruised, in my little waffle stand, but it feels like we've been a couple forever. He worked his way into my life and my heart almost instantly, and now he's managing the shop like it's his own. That has freed me up to pursue some of the distribution projects I've wanted to do but didn't have time for. This is the first week I've been away from Joey since he moved in, and it's been hard. I was only in San Francisco for a food convention, but it was a long week of meetings, and I can't wait to get home to him and back into his arms. As soon as the plane touches down in Portland, I send him a text. Just landed. Be prepared for a week's worth of attention starting the moment I step through the door. He responds instantly, probably waiting for my text. I'm so ready, you're gonna need one of those little blue pills, old man. Old man, I had a surprise planned, but maybe now I won't give it to you. If you insist, I'll give it to you instead. I'm flexible, and I have a surprise for you, too. Something for me? I was almost nervous about what it might be. He jokes about painting the guest room in Oregon duck colors. I don't think I could stomach a green and yellow room, although that might keep the visitors to a minimum. Maybe it's worth considering. You better not be teasing me, or you'll get a spanking. Now who's teasing? Hurry, or I may have to start without you. When I walked through the door, all the lights in the house were off, and there are candles spaced about every 5 feet apart that led straight to the staircase. Dropping my bag at the door, I follow the path into our bedroom, blowing out the candles as I go. I don't expect to be back down until morning. When I finally enter our room, Joey is lying in bed, a sheet draped over his hips, covering the beautiful body that I've been dreaming of for days. Welcome back, Ace, Joey murmurs without moving to greet me. Join me? I'm already kicking off my shoes and unbuttoning my shirt before the words were out of my mouth. You look like an angel, just lounging in the clouds, waiting for me to come make love to you. He smiles. Well, you got that last part right. I drop my pants and then down to my boxers. I'm gonna make him wait a little bit too. I move to the dresser to blow out the candles. Leave them for now. His hand is wrapped around the sheet, covering the movement below it. I want to see you. I stalk to the bed to climb in. Have you learned a new trick while you were away? He drops the sexy voice and goes for his usual smarty pants tone. What? I'm not sure what he means as I lift the sheet to settle next to him. Have you learned a way to do this with your underwear on, or do you plan to shed those things anytime soon? Anxious, are we? Standing with my back to him, I drop my shorts and quickly pull the sheet over my lap and gesture to the sheet. I thought we were playing hide and surprise. I slid over him, hovering just above his body, so I'm touching every part. God, I've missed him. I was only gone a week, but I hope we're never apart for that long again. I lower my mouth to his and slowly offer the kiss that's 7 days overdue. I need to taste every part of you, touch every part of you, little duck. I scoot down enough to kiss inside his neck and under his ear. I've missed you so much. I missed you too, babe. There are tears glistening in his eyes, and one falls down the side of his temple. That's why I did something to make sure you would never fully leave me again. Although I trust him enough to know he wouldn't do anything bad, I still tense with the cryptic confession. What'd you do, baby? He just smiles and presses his shoulders lower so my face is level with his abs. Keep going and you'll see. Eager to see what he's talking about, I lift off enough to fully inspect him as I move down his body, and then I see it. The small Waffle House tattoo on his left hip. It's identical to the one Alan gave me so many months ago. Alan do this. The graphic is blurring as my eyes fill with tears. Yup. Joey's hand rubs the top of my head. He did it the night you left so it would be healed when you saw it. The night I left, huh? I had to laugh. That punk. You don't like it? Joey moves to sit up like he wants to get away from me. I just thought, I love it. I lean forward and kiss the beautiful mark. It's perfect. He smiles, but still looks confused. Then why did you call him a punk? I smile and kiss the mark again before moving up to his mouth and claiming it, my tongue twisting around his, then draws it into my mouth, sucking and teasing before I release him. Because of this, I sit up on my knees and wait for his eyes to travel from my mouth down my torso before they do a double take on my right hip, right there where my latest art was proudly displayed, the little rubber ducky in the Oregon Ducks shirt that Joey saw in Alan's portfolio. When did you? This is for me? His fingers reach out to trace it. I smile and place a kiss on the tip of his nose. Of course it's for you. Alan did this just before I left town, which must have been a few hours before he did yours. Joey shakes his head. That punk. Look at that. Holding myself up, I press our hips together. They fit together perfectly, and they do. The overhang of the house graphic is shaped to fit exactly above the tail feathers of the duck. He must have had this planned for a while. Joey wiggles his hip, just like us, Ace. Just like us, little duck. The end. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to click that like button and leave a comment, and let us know what you think about Book 3, Choosing Happy. Thanks, and have a good night. Come see us again.